I'm Rod Duff, your host.
And I'm producer Barbie.
And together,
we bring you our podcast,
Insights and Straight Talk. And with that, producer Barbie and I are out. I need a new song because that was just way too cool. It's short and sweet, but it always gets me kind of, and I can never stop before the picture comes on. I do fade it out, but on the great advice of Tina, end of last week, who's a multiple Emmy award-winning producer, she gave me a hand. I said, "I've been playing with this. What do you think?" She goes, "If it's going to be a mellow and gentle, and kind of have that vibe topic, guest and all that, which, we have all sorts of topics, then fade in because it kind of sets that mood. I never thought about that. I consider myself creative, but then there's award winners and then there's me. And so, but I became a little better because I was curious and I listened to what she said. In this case, you'll notice there was no fade because Claire is a freaking crack up. This is not going to be a mellow show. It's not going to be obnoxious. I mean, I'm going to try and make it as obnoxious as I can, but she seems very good. I told her coming out of the gate, I've watched some of her stuff, quite a bit of her stuff. And I love the vibe. I love the place she comes from. And she's coming and my God, we were talking about this. She's not 19, guys. She's not 21. Okay. A little bit more, but what a heck of a, I see you laughing back there. What a heck of a life to have built already in the story that she has. I'm not going to get into it. It's what we really talk about when we talk about creating, developing that inner self, and there's different aspects. I really love her gig. I really love her photo cover too, but I really love the energy and the gig that she brings because it's a different way, maybe even a little bit more current, more stuff. We all have different experiences. It's like we were talking in the last show. I still got to cover a dozen people. Okay. Come on in, guys. Please subscribe if you aren't already. We're getting about 20, 30 subscribers a day. Like the show. And I know you will like the show. So please like it. Obviously comment. That's a big part of our relationship. This is our family. This is our community with all the different messages. And I don't want to go through all the different stuff. People are starting to really finish their midday nap and kind of grabbing their cup of coffee, going out on the porch and watching the episode or listening to it maybe. So I don't want to take away too much from that. Just a couple of reminders. We are streaming currently right now live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and X, Twitter. And at that same time, in between the two shows, I did a post view, a preview of how these episodes go. We do that on TikTok. We just started doing Facebook and TikTok because the demand was there for our audience. I'm not kidding you. It's kind of weird to me, but I mean, we have like 19% between the ages of 18 and what I thought you were, Claire, 22. Not just kidding. I gave you more than that, but we have a pretty good following in there, and it's interesting. I mean, this is the new way that people are getting information, but that age group is obviously a different age group than I am. My God, see, I have a granddaughter that's 16, so the other one's a year and 3 or 4 months old. Granddaughters, it's so cool. We'll get into that later, I'm sure, with Claire here. She's gone through some terrible experiences, and that's a lot where these things build from. The finding of a calling, the I can't do this anymore. I was going to try and go. I did the whole TikTok double barreled, but the air conditioning went off. So double barreled, multiple layered. So I was able to go all the way through that. I kind of like to work with different things, and I'm kind of weird in certain different ways, which I'm very happy about. So tough if nothing, whatever. So Claire, you got to come in and save this babbling of where I am right now. And what we talked about was, I like, life is never straight up and down, although a lot of people, one line, straight line, but a lot of people like to try and live that way. It means you're basically not growing, right? So there's all sorts of things with that. And as Claire, I'm sure, will definitely, and you better now, don't leave me out, don't throw me under the bus here, Claire. Do not, please. These guys already know what a goofball I am. So I can handle that myself. Just please don't throw me under the bus here. The path is more like this, and what people like Claire are doing are putting lights. The path is being lit, and this is the path you go. So I like to use the analogy bowling, where it's the too much light in here. Damn it. Better. But the bumpers, and when you're a kid, you have the bumpers in the rails so you don't fall into the gutter. That's what Claire's here to do, specifically for me, because we all know I'm blessed. I'm crazy, awesome, happy about the show and the way it's going for many reasons, not the least, and maybe even likely, probably the most, is I get free advice. I got 2 1-hour sessions today, and then got to spill it out in between on TikTok. And I know they're not so happy about their decision, but they made it through each one. And I get free advice, and I become a better person for that. And I continue to be able to be curious, especially about like your bestest. Yeah, it's a technical term. Your bestest, newest best friend. Tell me about it, Claire.
What an intro. Thank you, Rod.
Hey, by the way, every once in a while I may slip with a S or a F bomb.
You're good.
Okay, good.
Yeah, you're not going to offend me.
We got all the big stuff out of the way.
Yep.
So you saw the intro, and that's kind of how we like to live. And these, look at, they're up to 33. As soon as I start talking, it'll climb more. But you know what? I'm having fun, so screw it. It's growing me, because I get to meet amazing folks like you, experts in their field, and then you, this amazing woman, gets to sit on her couch, and I'm not there next to her, but I get that one-on-one, because I'm not letting you guys in. You audience guys, when I want to talk to her, you leave her alone. I'll let you back in. Just back off. I got questions, man. I got questions. So Claire, fix this show, because I've already run it off the rails. The bumpers went flat as I ran into them at a 90-degree angle. So fix it for me. We need to keep our subscribers, please. Tell me the journey that got you here. Yeah, as hard as I can, Ron, I swear. How did the journey start? What put you on a place where you started being able to plant lights, put this path, guide? How can you guide people? Where did that start from? What led up to that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. So
Thanks.
I have always been a deep feeler, always. And I've always been able to read people. Like, I'm the person that can walk in the room and I know everybody's mannerisms within about 5 minutes. And I can tell you who's feeling awkward, who is interested in who. Like, I can just read people.
Let me ask you to fill that in a little bit more. When you say read people, is it a feeling thing, or is it you're curious, so you're looking at people? Communication, 8% only the words. The rest of it's all that stuff you're probably reading off of to say, okay, I get the room. Read the room, right?
Yeah.
That's what you opened up with. What is it though? Is it a vibe? Is it that what I just talked about, a combination? Just fill that color between the layers a little bit here. And then go on, please. Sorry.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So some of it is just deep observation. I'm just a very visual, very, very observant person. And I'm also very curious about people. And so I just kind of take in, I'm looking at who's available to sink in, who's available to connect, who's having a hard time. So part of it is the energy of the people, and part of it is just what I'm watching and
how they act. how they
how they act, how they hold themselves, how they're speaking,
There you go.
whether or not
That's
they're
what I was trying to-
comfortable. Yeah.
it's shifting and all.
Mm-hmm. So that's
Told
always
you.
been just kind of a part of how I am. And
Hold on. Sorry, I'm going to screw with you a little bit here. What did I tell you? How much time did I say you had? How much
you
time
said about
did I
10
say?
minutes. Yeah.
I know. I don't know very much. I know a lot about a little about a lot of things. That's why you're here.
Yeah.
Because I could not do this. But Clive, thank you, Clive. I won the green peanuts in the green room, by the way, because of that. Thank you, Clive. You nailed it.
Do you
All
want
right,
me to
so-
answer that,
well,
or do you want me to
No,
wait?
no.
Okay.
I'm just screwing with you. So continue on because it's going to start coming in.
It's a
We're already
fantastic
at 60
question, though, and
people.
I'm sure we'll get to that later.
No. Oh, we will. Don't. I'm just teasing you.
Okay.
Do not take the bait yet.
Okay. Not taking the bait.
Your story. That's what
So-
I want to know.
So I started out that way. Certainly when I was a teenager, I was very self-conscious, had a really hard time knowing who I was. I resorted to humor a lot. I'm a Gemini, so I've got this like very dynamic
What's your birthday?
personality.
What's your
May
birthday?
30th.
I'm June 3rd.
Oh, wow. My nephew's June 2nd.
I just had who was it who just had a baby that was on my neighbor. I just found out her little girl is June 3rd. Her and that I no wonder we're best friends. I love Geminis. Geminis are awesome. You get 2 for 1. So go ahead.
So you know how dynamic we are. So I've always had this like really silly part to me, but also just a lot of depth. I've always been hungry for depth, I think.
Yep.
Hungry to be seen, hungry to be
I get that.
understood. So as a
You
very
listen, Barbie, producer Barbie, did you just hear what she just said? Did you hear her? Pop on, agree. You know. Go ahead.
So with that, taking that with me into adulthood, I think I felt so deeply and felt so much for the earth, for other people, that as I started to learn about other cultures and other ways of living, I grew up kind of in the suburbs of Salem, Oregon, and then we moved to central Vermont when I was going into 7th grade. So I kind of had a taste of like suburban life, going to a huge middle school with tons of kids, tons of different cultures, to a class of 85 kids in the middle of rural Vermont, living on a farm with 47 acres. It was just a very different experience. So I had a lot of dynamics going on when I was a kid, which I'm so grateful for.
You lived on a farm of 47 acres?
Yeah, my parents are not farmers, but we bought a farm. Yeah, with a barn.
That's what I'm looking for right now. I'm moving back towards my kids.
Yeah.
Can you pick all that land up and put it down further south of me
Just
here?
move it for you.
Just please. I want, that's so bad. A farm,
Yeah.
a cow, a gentleman's farm. So go ahead. You grew up in that.
Actually, this is from the farm. This is from the farm that I grew up on. That's a maple tree.
Hold on. I'm going to take myself off. I'm going to.
Yeah, that's a maple tree.
That's beautiful. Go ahead.
Yeah. So with these dynamic experiences and just growing up, going to school, I started as a psychology major, really wanted to understand how people tick. And I've also always been a deeply spiritual person. And so when I first went to college, I thought I was going to be a youth minister. So I was really prepping myself to go to divinity school by majoring in psychology. And after the first couple...
Whoa. This is the biggest wall I probably ever had. Okay, you went from being a psychology major, never heard about the whole Christ, the whole spirituality thing, and then all of a sudden you're going into being a youth minister.
Yeah.
You skipped something there. Fill that in. That's not good enough.
Well, I grew up going to church. I mean, spirituality was like always a part of my life. I don't know. I grew up going to youth group like when I was in high school.
One of the things that you were doing as you were developing your life, there was no major step. I'm making more of this than it was. Is that what you're saying? That's fair.
No, I did leave out the part where my youth minister when I was in high school was like, I wanted to be her. She was one of my biggest role models.
Okay.
And
so
that's
kind of important, isn't it? Isn't that kind of
totally.
important here?
Yes.
All right, go on. Quit
important
skipping
detail.
Stuff.
So I
Quit
did.
skipping.
So I did my first 2 years as a psychology major, and I started out of college that just wasn't a good fit for me, and I was having a really hard time. But there was a pivotal book that I read that changed that whole experience for me. It's called Mountains Beyond Mountains by Tracy Kidder. And it's about this doctor named Paul Farmer who goes and helps out creating clinics in developing nations, specifically Haiti, to help people with TB and HIV treatment. And just reading about him and the way that he really showed up for community really touched me in a deep way. And this, Rod, will feel like left field, actually. Now we're about to have the moment that I think you thought we were having a second ago. I switched and I decided I'm not doing psychology anymore. I'm going to be an organic farmer. So I actually, yes, there it is.
Okay, there it is. Okay, that is the switch. That's not a switch. That's a pivot.
Yes.
Go.
Yep.
So an organic farmer, does that mean on a farm or does that mean in the house with the what do you call those things? The water that goes through? I mean, what
like
do you mean
a hydroponic
by organic?
setup?
Yes.
Well, so I went to the University of Vermont and I graduated with an ecological agriculture major, which was for small organic farming. So like vegetable farming, essentially.
Okay.
And so I spent the first 3 years out of college growing food and raising pigs and chickens and baking and doing farmers markets and all that stuff.
I love that. Love it.
And all of that is still a part of my life. In fact, like this
That's
is
all
from
still Vermont, right? This is all Vermont?
That's still Vermont. Yep.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yep.
What are you pointing at? What's that? Sorry.
This is an onion blossom from my current garden. So my garden is a huge way that I connect to the earth and like spend time. Yeah. Like
you do
relaxing.
it barefooted? Like
I have
touch
barefoot
your skin?
I do I barefoot as much as I can. I have a lot of thistle in the field that I'm growing in. So I have barefoot sandals that I wear.
Okay. Really?
Yeah.
That's a thing, huh? Okay, cool.
Yep.
Because I know what that ground does.
Yeah.
You know, you've got a core of energy, and that ground. Barbie talks about this a lot.
Yep.
Producer Barbie, and actually another producer that's growing in the show, Ronalda. She won't be here today, but hugging trees. You know, when you're walking out in the grass, especially because it's tender. We are tender feet. You know, that pulls that up, and your energy is it's like they say, trees have roots and they connect to each other. Somebody needs help in the tree. So I'm not going to steal your thunder, but I'm just kind of resetting this up because I want to make sure that's the direction you're going on that because it's freaking awesome. Go ahead.
Yeah. Gardening started out as something I thought I was going to do for a profession, and what the most beautiful part about it was it started me on a journey that led me deeper into myself. I could have never thought that farming would be this thing that led me on a path of self-discovery, but it was, and
totally get it.
Continues to do that now. So I farmed for 3 seasons in Vermont on my parents' property. And after the 3rd season, as like a brand new newbie farmer in a small town, I wasn't doing any value added stuff other than the bakery, meaning like I wasn't making cheese, I wasn't making jam, I wasn't making wine. Like I wasn't taking something I was growing and processing it and selling it, which is where a lot of farmers make a good amount of their money. Like there's not a ton of like markup in vegetables. So I was just kind of slowly going into debt. So I decided, you know what? I had done some traveling to the developing world. I did a farming trip to Ecuador. I had done a community gardening trip to the Dominican Republic. And I thought, I want to spend more than just a month out in the developing world. I want to see how people are living. And so I signed up to be a Peace Corps volunteer. Yeah, Rod.
Okay, so why did you start the whole garden? I mean, I get what you're saying, and then the Peace Corps, but how did you go from slowly going broke and maybe still are, and then literally going to these other places? Were you part of a program, or is this an outreach of your, how do you end up in Ecuador?
In Ecuador, I was hungry. Remember the first school that I started at when I was a psychology major, I was not happy. And we had 3 terms, and the last term was 6 weeks. And for that last little 6-week term, you took one class that was many credits. And so I decided I wanted to get the heck out of there. The first year that I was there, I did a Russian history trip and went to St. Petersburg and Moscow and spent, like a month over in Russia. And so that second year, when I knew I didn't want to come back to that school, when I knew that I wanted to be a farmer, instead of just piecing out and not doing the third term and being done, I found a farm in Ecuador that would take me on as an apprentice. And I did an internship with them for that third term. So the church that I grew up in had a sister church in San Cristobal, Ecuador. So I knew lots of people who had been to Ecuador. I was a little bit, just a little more familiar of all of the South American countries. That was one that I just heard more about. And then when I really looked at the farms that were possible to go to down there, there was one that was really set up for international volunteers to come. It's actually called Rio Muchacho Organic Farm. It's right in the Central Coast. And it was an amazing opportunity. If anyone wants to go to Ecuador and volunteer on a farm and eat incredible food and meet people from all different walks of life, like go to Rio Muchacho. It is the most beautiful experience.
But all of these things, all of this part of it was literally through your, what do they call it? When you described Russia and here, our school program, what do they call that? Abroad, when you study abroad for a semester, that's how that bridge kind of happened. And you found the one, and you already knew it because your sister church, right?
Yeah. And these were more group trips. They weren't like exchange or anything. Right. It was like, you're going with a group of people for like a week Ecuador, I did go by myself because it was an internship. So I flew down there, but I was met by the head organizer of the farm and I was with other volunteers. So I wasn't by myself.
Right.
So, yeah.
So that's how that journey to the journey kind of happened and all, because you have I love to talk about how being curious, which is we both are, allows you to really find out a lot more because you're using this two to that one.
Yep.
Sometimes I turn that around in the show because I get too fired up. But basically, that's what the difference between being curious and judgmental is. And being curious, you gain so much more. And having that your whole life, you're pulling from all these different, what I like to put, you're putting tools in your bag growing up.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how it's great to hear how that journey went. And then the next step for you is what? What is that next? Because I want to get to these guys. They're starting to hammer me now.
I can streamline.
They're really starting to hammer.
No.
Take your time. Let's see. This next part. Okay, I misunderstood what you said. The hardline. Do you have a hardline stuff? We're already at 400 people, and we haven't even started the questions yet. So I think this is going to be a popular show. I mean, do you have to be off by one, or do you? I just need to be able to guide stuff. I'm sorry,
I
1
have lots
hour.
Of flexibility.
Good. Okay, you and I are spending some quality time together.
Great.
With our family here.
Awesome.
So continue on. Just know I'm going to start pressing it up because these guys are getting aggravating. I warned you. Look, I warned you one more time, Claire. I warned you that I'm going to have to talk to these folks.
Yep.
Say, slow down. Claire and I are having a little thing here. We got a conversation going on. Come in, just slow it down because they're like, I swear to God, I got, 18 questions. Oh we haven't even started. 20 questions. Yeah. So great. Finish your, don't speed it up. Don't abridge, but know where we are. Yeah.
Okay.
You're a pro. I've heard you speak.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. You bet.
So all of these little experiences, I guess the way I think about it is every time you go to a new place and you meet new people and you're exposed to new experiences, you get a little glimpse of what the human condition is, what the human experience can look like, because the human experience looks like infinite different possibilities. You know, when you stay in your own town doing the same thing over and over again, and you never leave what you're used to, it can seem like this is what it is to be a human. This is what it looks like. This is what success is. This is what friendship looks like. But when you venture out into the world, you see that there are infinite possibilities of ways to express yourself as a human. So every single time I left the United States to go somewhere else, especially working on farms alongside other people who are working the land from that culture, I learned from all of those people. I learned about human connection. I learned about the way that we protect ourselves and don't lean in. I learned about just community dynamics.
Don't lean in. Okay,
Don't lean in.
I heard
like
that.
The ways that
Protect yourself.
Exactly. The way that we like put a wall up and go, we're not talking about that.
Gotcha.
Every culture does that.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
yes, a big amount of the culture. Oh, by the way, since I already cut you off here, folks, this whole ground thing, this whole thing, you would never know she's 98 years old today, last week. So it's really we were joking about her age earlier. Sorry. But, yeah, I mean, the youthfulness, the energy, most of it's because you're a Gemini, and I'm staying with that story.
Yep.
But being what you've done your whole life to this point, this 97 freaking years is a lot. That you've been with the earth, you've been with the ground. You're on a frequency. You're developing a frequency, and I don't know if that's a step too far for you, but that whole thing makes your energy higher, which makes your youthfulness, in my opinion, and I'm no expert here, I'm just that guy, and the usefulness, your body produces more positive chemicals. Your body's got the grounding that can, your cells, they reproduce. Mm-hmm. There's a lot better stuff going on. Please keep filling that in, and then because I think being 97 and speaking as well as you do, I mean, I'm serious. You speak very well, very smart. I need that as a counterbalance, because I like what we're doing. It's got a good thing, but I stumble and slur, and you speak very, very well. So
thank you.
Congrats on your lifestyle, guys and ladies, gentlemen, children. Adults, listen to her. She's got something figured out. You want to live to be 392 years old and look 22? There it is. Come on, go on. Come on. We got stuff to learn here, girl. Come on.
Okay.
All right, Claire.
Oh my goodness. So this brings us
I warned you.
Let's see. In 2012, that's when I left for the Peace Corps. I was put in Tanzania. Okay. So I was working as an agricultural volunteer in Tanzania, and I fully intended to stay for the 2 years, which is what they ask of you when you do Peace Corps. But I was the volunteer that all of the scary stuff happened to, and so like I got in a bus accident. That was like. Nobody got hurt, but it was like one of those moments where you're like, that could have been really bad. Like the bus almost rolled full of people.
And they have.
Yeah. And sometimes they like careen off of mountainsides because there's like this much on the edge. Yeah. Terrifying.
That's scary. Yeah.
I got my backpack stolen with all of my stuff in it, my computer, my passport, all of the things. And so I also was living on the edge of a schoolyard, and the kids, I think, were just trying to be funny and didn't realize that they were scaring the living daylights out of me, but they were killing black mambas and leaving them on my doorstep, which is very stressful because you never know if the snake that's laying there.
Why would that be stressful? I mean, a black mamba, so what?
Well, so also.
Oh my, that's crazy.
Also, my house, the way that it was built, it was an L, and when it rained, which I was at 3,000 feet, so it was like up high in the mountains. When it would rain, it was during like rainy season. The rain would come pouring down the center of that L, run down my front door, in through my house, create a river through my living room, and go out my back door. And so every time, plus it's deafening because it's
and you're out there in the middle of the. I mean, you're in the middle of. It's not like here in America. In a lot of places. So when you're out there, and all that's happening.
Yep. I mean, I had other families with living around me and similar, but I was the only volunteer in my community. Unless you're married, usually you're the only volunteer in your community. That, and I mean, this is, I think, more like smaller peanuts for people, but like a tarantula came in on my charcoal. Like I had to kill a tarantula in my house, which is not one of my favorite things. I'm not a spider person. But the
It'd be
thing
mine. It'd be my favorite.
oh,
I lived in California. They used to herd them by the hundreds and thousands. They would, what's it called when they herd? Is a herd? They go to the next.
oh gosh, I
They
don't
come
even
right
know.
across my street. Well, when buffaloes they migrate. When they go through.
Are you talking about
whatever
spiders
that
specifically?
tarantulas, thousands of them
Ugh,
walking across in front of the
that's
street.
making my hair stand up.
I figured I'd just mess with you. Go ahead. Go ahead.
And the other thing I'll just mention is that I almost got attacked by a group of dogs also while I was there, and had to like literally pick up a piece
I've
of
heard about
asphalt
that.
and throw it in front of the dogs so it would splinter and they would leave me alone. So
I've heard about that. Yeah.
that whole experience there, I stayed 5 months. I did everything I could, but I wasn't sleeping. I was trembling all the time. I was having a hard time. And so I decided to leave and come home. And on the airplane ride home from New York City to Burlington, like I'd already gone all the way up to Europe, all the way over the ocean, and now it was the tiniest little airplane ride left. I experienced something that I now understand combat veterans experience, and it's called falling short, which is you're already safe, you're in the airplane, you're almost home, but you're not quite home, and everything in your body is convinced that the airplane is going to crash.
Oh, wow. Never
I
heard
was-
of that. That's
I was
crazy.
so traumatized by that experience that when I came home, I had some like real mental health stuff that I needed to work on. And I was so devastated that I
can hear it.
failed. Yeah. Was so devastated that I failed, right? Because I
Yeah.
went to go be a Peace Corps volunteer and came home early. And being from small town Vermont, didn't want to go back to my town and have to tell the same story over and over again. So
Yeah.
this is where we start shifting into my emotional evolution and where I got to today. That summer, I took the summer and I worked as a baker on Martha's Vineyard. And
217. I'm sorry, I lost the date.
this is 2013.
2013. Gotcha. Go ahead.
2013.
Just trying to put it in place.
Yep. That summer when I was on Martha's
Oh, whoa. 425 people now. I told you as soon as I shut up. There it is.
Awesome. Oh,
Go
that's
ahead.
wonderful. So that summer, I just worked. And when I wasn't working, I didn't have any friends on the island with me. It was just like I had a couple people that I knew from work that I would do stuff with every once in a while. But for the most part, I was working and then coming home and going to sleep and then going back to work the next day. And I was just really depressed. I was having like a really hard time. And so I actually discovered the work of Louise Hay that summer. And I discovered her mirror workbook. And that was the thing that took my self-reflection and my emotional awareness and started to direct it in a way that was actually productive and helpful for me, instead of just me second guessing myself and being so aware of all the things I wanted to change, but not changing any of them. I think that's what self-reflection is so much of the time, is that we just go,
Okay.
I'm just seeing everything, but I'm not happy with what I'm seeing and I don't know what to do with it other than effort against it. Right?
Good point. Yep.
So that summer, I will never forget, there is one exercise in the mirror workbook that Louise Hay made where she tells you to sit in front of a mirror and she tells you to look in your own eyes.
That's what I'm doing right now.
Yep. And then she says,
Technically.
she says, say your own name and then I forgive you for. And I read those words on the page and felt nothing. I was like, oh, interesting. I'll just try this. And then when I really slowed down and I looked myself in the eyes and I said, Claire, I forgive you for, I started sobbing. And off and on for the next 2 hours, I started saying things out loud that I had no idea I was holding on to.
That's awesome.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I know exactly what you're saying there. That's beautiful, man. And that just keeps opening things up to where you're now starting to communicate with yourself and in essence, communicate with God.
Yep.
I mean, there's that energy, right? Spirituality, energy, and all that.
Yep.
Go on, but I think you're really laying right into a perfect row of questions here
Yeah.
because the groundwork is here and what's happening and why, and all of a sudden a couple of different epiphanies
Yep.
led to this moment
Yep.
right now.
I want to give you
And-
one
and-
more facet that's going to round this out beautifully, and I can do it in 2 minutes.
You're
So-
such a pro. Oh my God. I love working with you. Keep going. 2 minutes. You got it on the clock.
Awesome.
just
Thank you.
I'm just
So when I got back from that experience, after I finished working at Martha's Vineyard, I applied to a massage school because I thought I want something off farm that is going to earn me a little bit of money that would still allow me to grow food, but would allow me to add to other people's lives in a meaningful way. So I found a massage school in Davis, California, and
that's up north.
that's up north. It's right an hour in from
I'm
San
from
Francisco.
I'm from California, so yeah,
Nice.
I know Davis.
Yeah.
Great
So I
history.
moved. What was that?
Great history, very rich. All of the cultural, Haight-Ashbury, all that, that's all part of the colors between the layers of that area. So when you say Davis, I didn't hear a great school too, by the way, UC.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
great area.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, the massage school is separate from UC Davis, but I lived
Yeah,
with
yeah,
UC
no,
Davis
I-
grad students, so I got the passive UC Davis experience, which was fun.
Okay. Yeah, I bet it was.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I went out there, did school, and while I was at that school, I learned that oncology massage was a thing. And the moment, so working with people who have a
Oncology.
cancer diagnosis,
Oh, okay. Okay. Wow.
I didn't know that was a thing.
I just now found out.
I was going to say most people still don't know it's a thing.
Yeah. Wow.
So-
So tell us about this thing, if you could work it in. If
Yep,
that's all right.
totally. So
How do you
basically-
massage?
So basically, oncology massage, what it does is it takes like a normal massage that you would offer any person, and it goes, what are the things that affect the body during cancer diagnoses? Chemo, radiation, lymph node biopsy or removal. Biopsy is removal, or any sort of surgical alteration. So basically takes people's blood counts, scar tissue, your lymphatic system, and it arms the therapist with what they need in order to give a safe massage to someone no matter what they've had done during their treatment. So we're not
So
bruising
in other words,
them.
you're staying away from those areas, not necessarily massaging that.
Not
that,
necessarily.
scar tissue, or yeah, that's why I was wondering. Scar
It's-
tissue needs to be worked.
Yep. So there are scar
Okay.
tissue classes that you can take that help you to
Oh
address
wow!
that.
No
Yep.
kidding.
There are whole training
Wow.
programs to help people work on scar tissue, to work as lymphatic drainage therapists. And so to help basically your body to drain and to help to heal. So I got this really specialized training to make me safe
Hold
to
on.
work.
Hold on. Okay, so I'm going to bug you again. I am, because it adds to this.
It all
And-
fits
and-
together.
It does, because, and this is going to be one of your mind blowers here for you. I've given you a mini mind blower.
Okay.
You just talked about this massage for cancer and so forth and so on.
Yep.
3 years ago on Memorial Day, I got in a motorcycle accident and literally broke every single bone on the left side of my body. My ribs are in 7, 8, 10, 12 pieces. My shoulder, how you get certain levels of your body's fucked up. And I have a shoulder guy, I have this guy, the person. They happen. Now there's one lady, but so I broke everything here. You talked about the tubes and the drainage and all that. I could show you some, but then you talked about the scar tissue. When they had to, I was like in the hospital for 3.5 months. And when they work on you, they got to get stuff out of the way. And it's actually come out okay. It's not as ugly as I'm going to make it sound, but I've got a shark bite on the back of my, right underneath here. It goes to the middle of the back because they're flipping all that back to
Yep.
see all these chips around. How the hell are we going to put this back together? And then, so yeah, I had no idea. I mean, how long's this been around? That was 3 years ago. It had to be around way before that, right?
Oh yeah, for a long time.
Why don't we know about this? Why don't we know about this? Because they did as best they, lotions and I actually went in my own massage, but more stretching because of the muscle. So why don't we know about this? I mean, can you add
a
to
great
that? I'm not trying to
question.
set you up. Yeah.
It's a great question. I mean, there are physicians that I know that don't understand the importance of lymph drainage and wouldn't tell you to get your scars worked on. I don't understand why
I don't
everybody
either.
isn't on the same page, but I know for me, I was really blessed that I got to actually come on as an oncology massage therapist in a hospital, in a bone
Right.
marrow unit with
Oh,
inpatient
wow.
people who were staying out the gate for a month at a time to receive treatment. And so I stayed there for a little over 2 years, and I started just an inpatient, but the second year, everyone loved it so much that they expanded me into outpatient too. So I got to also see people like once they got out of the unit and were going home, but were coming in for infusions. I was then getting to see them there, which was really sweet.
How, around your area, that we're just to get a gauge of it. So you're talking about a hospital that has this program, that's how right. It should all be there.
Yeah.
But it doesn't sound like it's not all there, all over, whatever, however you word that, right? But like you're in the industry, so you were one of these people in this area that was able to do this, and thank you. That's awesome, because I know how much of a deal that is, emotionally, physically, living a quality, quality, not just quantity life, and that work. Really, and you got to be an expert. You can't just go in and be a massage therapist and screw this person, all over the place. It's work, but how not competition, but how many compadres were in a reasonable area of you doing the same thing? Are a couple in the hospital at least, or no?
No, you? I was the only massage therapist in the entire hospital, and this is in Sacramento. I mean, this is a major hospital in Sacramento.
Yeah. Sacramento's not very small.
Right. Yeah.
It's California, my God.
I know. Well, we were just lucky. There was an endowment in the hospital, and they were really focusing on adding to patient care. And so I was one of the ways they did that.
How do you build those programs? I mean,
it's a great question. I think it just depends on the board of the hospital, because I know I live in Maine now, and in Maine, I approached the hospitals around here. And we're lucky in Maine, Patrick Dempsey created these centers, the Dempsey Centers, which do all of these added service for people with cancer. And so, but they're separate from the hospital. And so they have their own massage therapists who work differently than I do.
That's not a hindrance. They're not right in the hospital. That's
right. But I guess what I'm saying is
it's not different. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. The hospitals, I think, have just decided, because we have the Dempsey Center, we don't need to bring massage into the hospitals. I think that's kind of how they're looking at it.
So they were going to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
So yeah, around here, it's not available like it was in Sacramento. And I don't even know if that program exists anymore in Sacramento, but I was super lucky to get into that spot. And it was wonderful, because the bone marrow unit, I think I had 16 different rooms, and all I would do is check in with the nurses, see if I could go into a patient room. And if they said yes, I could stay with them as long as I wanted. So during that experience, this is the thing that always sticks with me, and this is the way I think about it. It's like when someone gets a blood or bone cancer diagnosis, especially if it's really acute, they've got a click like a ticking clock in their hand that they can't look away from. It's like everything has just gotten crystal clear. Everything is terrifying. Everything that's important is now very clear. And now they're going, what do I do with this? And then in I walk. And I'm like.
And there's an ending point that they know about. That's the hard part.
Exactly.
In you walk.
Then here I come. I'm not a doctor. I'm not here to do anything with their medical treatment. I'm here to ask them how they're doing, get them a blanket if they need it, help them to relax, go to sleep, whatever they need. And I can spend as much time as I want. And so I created these really beautiful relationships with people. And the part that touched me so deeply was that when people are in this tender place where they're totally cracked open and totally scared, if they're willing, people let you in a way that they would never let you in upon first meeting you outside of that, because it's such a bewildering experience. And so I just got to have conversations at a depth with people that I wouldn't normally even get to have with friends or people I'd known a long time. You know, we would talk about death. We would talk about what they wanted for their families if they didn't make it through. They would tell me stories from their childhoods or things that they were thinking about. Like, I just got to know their hearts, you know, and I just hungered during that time to be able to do more than just help them take a nap. And I'm not belittling massage. Massage is a beautiful gift for anyone who's having a hard time. And we need massage therapists, but I felt hungry for more, and I felt like I could offer more. And so after 2 years of being with these people and slowly, sometimes abruptly losing them one after the other, I had all of this grief that I had to learn how to process through. And so remembering back to my days of Louise Hay on Martha's Vineyard, I was like, Claire, you know how to do this, you know? So I got a therapist at that time to help me, because the way that my grief started to manifest was I started to have anxiety attacks because I wasn't able to process through the amount of grief and the amount of fear at the things that I was seeing at work on a day-to-day basis. So
I feel you.
During that time, I just learned how to cry again. Like, I learned how to let myself start to let down. I can remember being stuck in traffic. You know, between Sacramento and Davis, it's like 17 miles. And sometimes you'd sit in traffic for over an hour, depending on what was going on.
California.
And I can just remember sitting in traffic and just letting myself sob, just letting myself cry and process through what I had seen during the day.
So if we kind of focus that a little bit, and when that moment happened, and I feel you. I mean, we don't let ourselves off. We don't let ourselves just release. Like you said, it's okay to cry. It's a good thing to cry. There's all that stuff happening. Is that, and I'm going to kind of tie in Clive here a little bit, if you don't mind on that. Perfect timing for that.
Love it.
And you went over 2 minutes, by the way.
Sorry, I know that was way longer than 2.
Hey, look, flip side, you have to know by now that's we're like sister brother from another mother kind of thing.
I know,
here.
we're just volleying back and forth.
2 minutes is like, okay, I might have 20. I've answered a question that took me 40 minutes to actually answer the question, because it kept taking me everywhere, all over the place. And I had no lights. So I was just all over the place.
Yep.
Clive asked here, how can we tell the difference between a resistant emotion and a tender one in the moment? The reason I'm asking his thing right now is to kind of tie in. Was that a moment when or was that the building up, like you said, every day over the last couple of years, and you just needed to release it during that 17-mile, 4 hour and a half drive?
I think it was, honestly, I think it was the beginning of my body remembering what it is innately meant to do, which is just to release. Because it wasn't a conscious thing necessarily, other than I just have this feeling and it needs to go. So if I tie this into Clive's question, tender emotions lead you to tears. They're ones that if you were feeling them, you would want to hug. If you want to hug with what you're feeling, that's a tender emotion. If you don't want to hug, you're in resistance. That's the easiest way I can put it. So resistance has a charge. Resistance has a charge. So you can think about, and I want to just say this. I put resistant emotions and resistant behaviors, experiences all in the same category, because blame isn't an emotion. It's something that we do. It's a way that we cope with things. But blame is resistance. It's you going
blame at yourself,
blame
or
at
blame
anybody.
The situation, anything. Okay,
gotcha. Anything. Blame is looking for who's responsible. It's not going, what do I need to feel? Blame can keep you searching out there for a long time. Judgment, same thing. They'll keep you focused outside of yourself. So resistant emotions are anything that has a charge and is aimed outward. Anxiety is resistance. Any flavor of anger irritation, agitation, frustration, rage, all resistance. Okay. So the reason that there are two different categories like that is because tender emotion, 100% of the time, there are no exceptions, always lives underneath resistant emotion. There is no resistant emotion without tender feeling.
Okay, so tender's always there.
Always.
Resistant emotion is either keeping it or poof, it goes. It just can't keep it. So are you also saying resistant is something you feel and you're like you say, I'm under stress. It's outward. The tender emotion that Clyde's referring to here, is it that moment when I'm just walking through and I'm thinking about some things and I just freaking bust into tears?
That's one. Is
moment that a difference, or I'm trying to narrow in.
Totally. Let's break this down. So what you're talking about is easy access to tender feeling. You don't have any resistance to it. You just all of a sudden have access to feeling and you feel it.
Why'd you tell everybody that? I didn't mean that. You exposed. Damn it! You should have told everybody that. I thought we had a thing going. Now the whole world knows that you're a human. No, that I cried at iRobot when we were in the movies. I don't know, 20. My kids laughed at me at the time, and then they finally got to know me and said, "Oh, I get why he does that."
Yeah, good.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's all good.
It's a good example to let kids see us cry. Absolutely.
It is a very good example. Yes.
Yeah.
And have emotions between whoever's in their family. Some of the funniest things that I love is you see on social media, which isn't always a great thing, but you're seeing this more and more in that, like the doorbell ringer things. I'm sure you've seen these things where one of the partners is just you can tell, and having a bad day, slip and fall, and then the other partner sees that and shows that love in front of the kid, right?
Yep.
That's the best, and that's happening more and more.
Yes.
It's because of you. You're doing all this, Claire, and you've done it in 74 with me, 94 years and 3 months almost. So you're on a roll, man. Keep going.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So that's tender feeling, right? So resistant emotion, here's an example of resistance covering tender emotion, okay?
Gotcha.
Let's say that you're watching somebody have difficulty in their life. Like maybe they're choosing a relationship that's not kind to them, and you really feel like you can see that it's not supporting them and that they really should leave. Okay. So you then tell this friend how you're feeling and you go, "Hey, I'm really concerned about that relationship. Like, here's my advice, or here's what I want for you, or this is what I think you should do." And the other person goes, "No, I'm not doing that. That doesn't work for me." You're at a place where you've just shared something out of concern and it wasn't received. So you're irritated. Your irritation is the resistant emotion because your heart is hurting that you're watching your friend hurt. You're watching your friend not be honored.
Right? Who are you? I'm going to keep asking, so shut up, okay? Who are you? I mean, I'm serious because
this is a human experience, though, right?
I do a lot of these shows, and I hear a lot of really good. I always talk about it. I get a free hour plus with you of awesome knowledge that and help. That I normally would never. You wouldn't let me near your house unless I paid you $10,000. Okay, we can do sessions. But here we get this. But then that in mind, I do a lot of these shows. I've done 250, I think, episodes since Constitution Day.
Wow.
Last year, 8 months ago. We do them all the time. Not all of them are on this subject, but a lot are. As a matter of fact, all of them really have to do with this subject, whether they're about this subject or not, because it's about you. But I hear all sorts, and I'm curious like you are. Listen, I hear a lot of great stuff, but I have never heard this. That's why, who the hell are you? Where you come from? What? Usually only the elites get good information. We started this because of that. Thank you. Really? Come on. Where this is awesome information.
Oh,
And you don't look 117. Oh, anyway, go ahead. I'm still messing with you on that. I can't help myself. So that anger that is created is a resistant, as an example, is a resistant emotion.
Yep.
So what happens at that moment? So these are friends. I would never say that to you unless I'm a real ass, and then it doesn't matter. Busybody in your Kool-Aid kind of person that nobody wants to deal with. No, I don't know that personally. Don't assume things. It's curiosity, not assume. But at that point, where does totally lost my point. Damn you. Where was I going with that? Give me a help back.
Well, so I think your question is, what do we do once we're at the irritation? Like, what do you do in the moment where you're like, oh, there's a tender feeling under there?
And then how do you build it from not destroying the personal relationship that you have to have for even saying that? Or do you say, wait, if I'm really looking at this as my friend, they're coming back at me because I'm coming at them to a place from a good place,
right.
But in their place, they may not be ready for. Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is when we have
awareness. Like
yeah. So when we have awareness that there's a tender feeling under our blame, our judgment, our anger, our irritation, any of those charged things, even anxiety, when we know that there's something tender under there, we then have a choice. When we don't know that there's tender emotion under irritation, we're just irritated. And we're just kind of stuck with the irritation until we reason ourselves out of it or distract ourselves from it and it goes away. So this is a way to dissolve the resistance instead of just avoid it or wait for it to go away. Because the truth is, it never goes away. You're just shoving it down. It's asking to be looked at. It's asking to be
put it in boxes.
So
have you ever heard the term compartmentalized?
Oh yeah.
So you're describing and what happens is that keeps going. And then at some point, my boxes blew up. That was last May. It blew up all over the floor.
Yep.
And so I'm with you. I'm right with you. By the way, we are at 57 minutes and 34 seconds. How much time do you have? We're on the first question here. Do you want to hang out until the sun goes down and have this conversation? Maybe a little Merlot or something on the. We'll tap. Damn, I don't have any alcohol here. All right, go ahead.
I have time. I have a workshop in 2 hours. But
all right, so we are going to have to kind of get to these questions.
Yeah, which is fine. Yeah.
All right, good. So, but this is a big thing. So I wanted to hit it now because it's got to be filled in because this is kind of the basis of the human experience, right?
Yes, absolutely. My whole outlook on how we heal emotionally is that we have to invest our energy in things we can actually change. And when we're focused on the outer world, changing the circumstance, making someone else think differently or act differently, when we're out in the world instead of with ourselves, we're in the land of imaginary. We can't change anything out there. You can provide influence, you can offer your perspective, but people are autonomous at the end of the day. So you have to honor autonomy.
God, you're so freaking smart. Why are you so smart? It's just embarrassing. I'm not an expert, but I'm not usually listening to these awesome words. Just boom, 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 boom. Go ahead. So finish your thought there, but you're really freaking smart. Go ahead.
Thank you. So the idea is if we want to grow, we have to stop aiming our focus at everything that we can't control and come back to what we can control, which what is that? We can control what we focus on. So literally like what your brain is telling you about what you're seeing. The good and the bad exist at the same time. The stuff that is working and the stuff that isn't working is happening at the same time, right? The light and the dark, it's all there. But we all have brains.
You can't have the dark without the light, or you can't have the light without the dark. To compare it to, at least, right? Yeah.
But for most of us, our brains are trained to only pick up a certain portion of it. We're not taking in the entire spectrum. We're only looking at, some of us are like,
Heard
I'm
this.
not looking at anything bad. We're doing gratitude and happiness and that's it. And we're not going deep. Some people
See
are
what I
like,
mean?
some of us are deficit
Serious.
focused and just nothing is correct ever. And we're always noticing what needs to be different. And we have a hard time like finding ease and joy in things. There are people that are on other spectrums in the middle. But so the idea is when we start to watch what our brains are doing and what they're paying attention to, we can retrain our brains to pay attention to different things. So that's one of the things we can change. Obviously, you can change your behavior out in the world.
Control over that. You have your
Yep.
control over that, right?
Yep. So obviously, we can change the way that we're behaving because of what we're thinking. But the third one that we don't think about, that is where most of our investment, I would argue, goes the furthest, is we can control how much room we make for the feelings that we have. When we don't make room for our feelings, when we compartmentalize, like you were saying, when you go, nope, not going there, I'm too busy for it right now, and you do that over and over again, you keep pushing things down. And over time, what this does is it makes us kind of, it looks different in every person. Some people are curmudgeon-y, some people are easily irritated.
I like that word. That's a good word.
Right? Like you get an image in your brain of who that person is when you say curmudgeon-y. Like
You do. I love it. Yep.
Some people just lose their humor. Some people become really negative. Like the longer that we're pushing our stuff down, we can become really uncomfortable with connecting with other people. We can have a hard time receiving
100%.
compliments, right? We just start to shut parts of ourselves down. So the idea is to go, your job as a human, if you want to heal your heart, is to notice that you're having an emotional response to something that's happening in your life. And then when you're willing, actually learn how to feel that through so that you're not shoving stuff anymore. So that's what my work is. How can we gain awareness of the stuff that's bothering you?
Okay.
Reframe it in a way where it's not a problem. You're not a problem.
God, you're good.
Right?
God, you're
Where
good.
can we look at it differently? And then how do we actually competently feel without drowning in our stuff? Like how can you learn to cry again? How can you learn to just stop and make room when you're getting the signal from your body that it needs to cry? Like I literally teach people how to cry. Like part of me is kind of a crying coach because we don't know how to do it anymore.
You're mean, aren't you? You get off
No,
on that.
I'm the most loving crying coach that a person could
No
possibly
kidding,
have.
my God. Hey, wait, now, and I don't doubt that one bit. I'm having more fun than I've had in forever. And I almost cried earlier, so you almost got me. But
Good.
Yeah. So the time now in your life was in how long ago? What? So because this is something you're not new at. I mean, I listen to people talk, right? You read the room. Remember we talked about that.
Yep.
I think that was in the green room, or maybe it was early on. But so I'm sitting here listening and reading the green room. No, you're on stage, whatever you are, and I am seeing information. I'm receiving things that are okay. She's not really 94, guys. As you know, I'm just screwing.
I'm 39.
Exactly. So you're 39, right? I was not going to say it myself.
I know you weren't. That's why I said it.
I know. I appreciate that. So you put me out of a little box, so I can now wiggle around with that all stuff. So so at your age, which is awesome, nothing about nothing, but you know a lot. And not just your history, obviously that's all there, but what you're talking about now is at a very impressive level. Not that I matter or whatever, but I've listened to a lot of this and I know enough, and because I'm receiving a lot of this, I went through for a great deal of my life stuff that needed people like you in it, right?
Yep.
But I hear a lot of this message, and you have a very mature. And I don't mean as a person, you're obviously mature as a person, but separately, you have a mature message that comes from a place that I don't usually get the opportunity to explore with that person I'm talking to. And I really am feeling very good about this. By the way, speaking of this, God, we're still over an hour and we're on number 2. And I haven't even asked it yet. But at some point here, when you get a second, when I'm on one of my rants or something, you see the private chat over there to your right, I would assume,
Yeah.
right? Okay. So would you put all your contact information at some point? Because you can't put it right into the comments. I don't know why, but I'm gonna copy and paste and put them over there. You know this. You do this.
Yeah.
A month later, there'll be however many people that came in because they couldn't be here then, or they wanted to rewatch it, or an hour later because they're on, it started raining, so they couldn't sit on the porch. They had to run inside. And now the rain's over, and they go back and watch the show. That contact information does. I can't help them as much as you can getting them to you. Because that comment, unless we're reading that every day, is going to get missed. But I love putting it there so I can just slide them over to this amazing, even though you're my newest best friend, I don't know how to get in contact with you any better than you putting it on there. So at some point, would you do that?
Yeah.
And in the meanwhile, first of all, Clive, thank you very much. I think we're kind of dialed in there a little bit, right? I don't think we missed too much. I know I may have cut you a little thin on when there's a tender underneath the other. That I think you kind of filled that out, but I want to flow right into Daniel here. And what role does the body play? Yeah. Because you're obviously, that all physical stuff and your endorphins and all sorts of things work together while processing deep emotions. Yeah. Now, I'm assuming we're talking about being in shape here. Maybe you know better than I do what he's referring to here. I might be missing something, but is it that person that's 40 pounds, 120 pounds overweight is going to handle those emotions less easy than somebody who's got a regular active schedule? Or am I missing that altogether?
I think what Daniel is getting at is actually a different idea, which is this idea of embodiment, which is right on cue and a perfect segue for us. So it's this idea that our emotions.
I planned that. What I just asked was all an act. I really knew what Daniel was talking about. I just wanted to set you up again. That's
great.
Okay.
You're testing me. Go. I love it.
I am.
So it's this idea that most of us now think our feelings. We're intellectually connected to the fact that we've got a feeling, and we can tell you, I feel angry, I feel anxious, like whatever is going on. But we're not actually in our bodies enough to be able to alchemize the emotions. So this question is beautiful because your body is the difference between you swirling around in the emotion and being able to move it through. I always talk about bringing people out of their heads and coming down into their bodies. Because think about it, when you need to cry, where do you usually feel it? You feel it in your chest, probably. You feel it in your throat. These are in your body. And if you're stuck in your brain, you're going to miss the signals.
What about this one? This area here always seems to start to not tickle, but I know exactly what you're saying, but there's this feeling in here too, right? In that nasal area is kind of, you're trying to hold it back. Maybe is that an energy or a breath or something?
Well, that's
that
part
whole
of it.
Area right there. Sure. That's where it is, right? All in here.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Which is still outside of your brain, right? Like if we're thinking about the emotion and we're not
okay, I'm getting off. I got it. Thank you. All right.
Yeah. So when we come out of our brains and we go, what are the sensations of the emotion that I'm feeling? And then we bring our attention and our awareness and our willingness to feel there, then we have an opportunity to clear the emotion and feel some relief on the other side and not swirl around in it. So I actually call this like an embodied emotional experience, like actually coming down out of your head and into your body. One thing that I teach people how to do in one-on-one sessions and in my community, the Conscious Heart Academy, is I literally help people.
What's that on?
That's on Mighty Networks.
I use School, and then there's Discourse, and then you said it's on Mighty Networks. Leave that information in there too, because I guarantee, I freaking guarantee you're going to have some people. And please, you fans, you subscribers, you watchers, please don't just leave me and go over to her. At least we'll share. We'll
totally
share.
Totally different things. We can absolutely share.
We could share. We're like that. Go ahead.
Rod, what I sent you is intuitiveemotionalhealing.com, which is my website, and the Conscious Heart Academy is on there. They can find all the information about that there. So I literally teach people how to come down out of their brains and be in their bodies when they're crying, because if you're in your brain when you're feeling a deep emotion, if you're lamenting that something happened, if you're in blame, if you're replaying how terrible the other person was, if your brain is active and it's chewing on the thing that upset you in the first place, you're going to swirl, you're going to get tossed around, you're going to have a really hard time feeling that through and experiencing relief on the other side. So we really have to practice, and it is a practice. This is not an overnight thing. These are skills that you build, but you have to learn how to quiet your brain, go, brain, thank you, take a back seat. Heart needs to cry right now. Body needs to cry. So if this idea is weird, I encourage people, like, treat crying like throwing up or sneezing. It's a bodily function. It's something your body needs to do to feel better.
Wait, okay. I had a really good mental image there until you said the word bodily function, and I went a whole other place there. What I was going to say until you crossed me up there, sorry, I had to take a breath. Producer Barbie, if you're on, and we talked right before the show, right after the other one, you know exactly what she's talking about. I'd love for you to make a comment. She usually likes to hide in the back and does she does all the money stuff and other stuff. She's out in California. With her granddaughters, and she had all sons. We raised 5 boys together. Well, not all 5, but the thing that you just talked about, taking that, she is very caught up in that and doesn't cry. And I think that's an answer to a thing that you were just talking about, where that body needs to release. If you're holding that in, I see what you just said there. And I'm sorry to call you out there, Barbie, but I've been throwing myself out. Thank you very much, Claire, for so far. And don't take this as an opportunity of not throwing me under the bus. I appreciate that. And I'm not trying to throw producer Barbie, but that was it's when you hear what you're talking about, it's important, and you know it, you feel it, you see it. What you're saying makes sense. But in addition to that, when there's a point you're making in a point, or a point you're making, and you go, holy crap, I know exactly what she's talking about, because, and you experience that, that's a whole nother level. So that's why I sometimes like to, if you don't mind, I'm sorry. I know sometimes it hurts the flow, but when it's really important, I'll hurt the flow, because it's my show and I can, God damn it. So we need to stop for a minute and say, hey, I've experienced that. And that makes another level of connection up here, because we're all learning all this. You obviously got your jiggy down. You know where you're going, because you can hear it, and it's refreshing, because the people here, the 425 people that are still here, and we haven't answered but 2 of their goddamn questions, and they're sitting there going, okay, this is some valuable stuff. So what you said there, sometimes I need to put a stamp on it, or an explanation point on it, and that needed that, because I've lived it. I want to see if she jumped on. Go ahead with your point. Let me jump off here, because we got a whole bunch of stuff. I don't see producer Barbie. Oh, a couple other couple of podcast shows are asking questions. They're coming over here and asking questions. I got 2 or 3 podcast shows said, hey, this is great. So I do a lot of these. So I'm going to take myself off. I'm going to shut up, save the show again, because we still have ways to go, and keep me on track. I'm going to jump off and just be you, man. Your energy, your knowledge, your intelligence really comes through, because that's a confidence that we have information here that means something more than somebody's just, because you're right. There's people who are just on both spectrums. When you're in the middle and you're driving the force, and it's obvious the energy is not only interesting, but true and bold and worth following. Yeah. And that's why I want to keep driving that point. So I'm going to get off, fix the show.
Yeah. No, I really appreciate that. I mean, I think what you're hearing and what I'm saying is just our lived experience, just we as humans, We have a really hard time letting our emotions down because we judge ourselves so deeply. We judge the emotions. We judge ourselves for being in the situation, or we judge other people in the situation. And every single time we get caught up focusing our attention and all of our awareness on everything outside of ourselves, we're missing that our human is hurting and needing our attention. And so my whole focus in my work is to reorient people so they can come back to themselves and invest where they can actually see some improvement. So many people are walking around with a diagnosis, with something that they are defining themselves by, with pain that they're carrying, and they feel like, I'm never going to be different. I'm just going to have to live with this. And the truth is, that's not true.
Oh, no, it's not. Producer Barbie, I was stuck in a house that I couldn't get out of, a apartment. I had to move out of the house into an apartment when I broke all those bones. But further down the road, that was 3.5 years ago. Further down the road, I went through an emotional break. All my boxes blew. I couldn't get out of bed. That's horrible. But I was afraid to leave my apartment. And she started helping me. She excuse me. Oh, the throat. Oh, son of a bitch.
Yep. There you go.
Oh my goodness. I had to cough that out because it was going right to the nose next.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's still in there. Producer Barbie at one point said, and she paused my moment, my life, my experience, my human experience. I went into, and she said, you're going to be okay. It's going to take some work, going to take some time, but you're going to be okay. So when you said that, it's again, I can tell everybody here, because I'm sure not every single person here has gone through the lives that we're talking about and I've experienced. But I can tell you and you guys have seen a lot of these shows that I do with people, and I'm very excited about every one of them because the information's valuable. But I also am very real at what I believe the information we're getting, what that is coming out, how that is. And I'm not judging. I'm just saying there's points in time where you just stand back and you got to go, okay, I'm all over this. I'm feeling the things that you're saying because I've experienced them, and I can be a eyewitness. That's not the right word, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. You can vouch for what I'm saying.
100%. And I'm sure a lot of people can.
Yeah.
Because you're describing perfect. Go ahead. Sorry.
All I'm doing is translating the human experience. That's it. It's like, have you ever played the game Taboo? Like where you have like the word that you've got to describe to the group, but you can't say that word or the words under it. I feel like that's what I'm doing, but like with emotions. I'm like, here, let me take this thing that feels really amorphous and let me describe it to you in the form of your experience.
Hold on. Amorphous.
Amorphous. Yeah.
That's a good word. Go on.
Yeah.
I told you I love words. So
yeah. Well, that's what I feel like I'm doing. Everything that I'm saying is what we all live through. And so just no one was there to teach us. All of this has come through by me getting more in touch with myself and actually like learning to show up for my own feelings. Someone told me recently, I would never have said this about myself before, but someone told me recently, oh yeah, Claire, you're claircognizant. That's what it is. Like you just kind of get downloads and you know things and you just say them. And that is my experience. So much of what I bring people is my lived experience, things that I've tried, things that have worked for me. But others of it, when I start talking about this emotional stuff, things just come in, images, ideas, new ways of saying things, new ways of looking at things that I had never entertained before the moment it comes out of my mouth. So I'm tapping into something that isn't mine. I'm just bringing it through, and it is the human experience. So I love that it's resonating because that's what it is.
It's very much resonating. I'm going to go back and forth. I'm going to say thank you to a couple of people here. First of all, we already talked about Clive. Thank you so much. That was awesome. Daniel, that was an awesome question that I totally misunderstood, and thank you for clarity. David, thank you so much. Can you explain how beliefs fuel the reactions more deeply? I did skip over that because we were kind of chatting about that. But then I want to just want to make sure we didn't quite miss this, because the thing he says here is emotional reactions more deeply.
Yep.
So I don't know if we really got into that enough. Did we?
We didn't.
Did we?
And you know what's funny? It's like someone gave your audience like a script of all the questions that would be helpful for me to outline different parts of my work. And so it's like these could be planted questions. They're so beautifully dialed in. This is a beautiful question. So
they do this all the time. They are so much smarter than I am. I mean, literally, we have a lot of questions about this subject, because I got to think there's, I don't know, this might be high, but 70% of society, kids and grownups of society, especially of sophisticated society, or what, if you're out in the countryside, it's a different world. But it may not be this high, but like 70. And so people are dying for this information, because you can't, all you can do is Google, right? And you go to some websites that somebody could read, and then dive right into here, let me sell you something, and what's your email, and go into all that. And it's business. You got to keep the lights on.
Yeah.
But here we can pause a second. And then what we can also do is go back and compare. So you've got a very, very intelligent audience.
I can
and that's
tell.
why I was scared. That's why I was scared that they're all going to leave, because they're talking to you right now. And the example is sitting right next to you, And there's a difference there. So I appreciate that comment. But can you explain this, how beliefs fuel emotions? Because it does. What are your beliefs? Everybody lives a completely different life throughout their life. No two humans live in the same world, because they look at it through their eyes. Their eyes are what brought everything in. Beliefs. How does that work?
Yes, absolutely. Beautiful, very smart question. So our emotions are never responding to the situation that we're looking at. Never. You're never emotionally reacting to the situation. What you are emotionally reacting to is your belief about what just happened.
Okay.
That's why two people can look at the same thing and have completely different responses.
Right next to each other.
Yeah.
Right next to each other. Boom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
I hear about it.
So when you have a belief that doesn't feel good, that comes up, I'm not enough, this isn't fair, I'm not being treated well, there's something wrong with this person. Like, usually our beliefs come up and they go, hold on. This is how we translate belief. Human, pause. Something more is available here. This does not match what you're wanting. Someone deserves to be honored. Someone needs to be treated better. There is some possibility that would be better for all people involved than what is happening. If you can stop and slow down and survey what's going on, and then feel your feelings, you're going to have wisdom on the other side that's going to solve whatever it is. You're going to arrive with more in your cup. So your beliefs really are your human going, no, this isn't it. This is not it. So your belief is the thing that's going to inform your response.
Define it. Define what that is. So, and then inform your response.
Yeah.
Good. That's awesome. That's freaking awesome.
So it's always thought, belief, then your emotion. You see
it happens super fast.
So fast. You see the thing, you have a belief about yourself, the world, the other person, then your emotions kick in. And then we usually go right back up to the thought and feed the belief and create more emotion and go back to the thought. Like we usually loop. So what I'm saying is when you get down,
I got to go back to you, David. I got to go back to him because I went a little faster because I want the next question really bad. I like it. But go ahead.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is,
how do you get off that?
We don't have to loop like that. We don't loop like that when we know that there's tenderness underneath the thing that we're feeling and we can feel it. You can interrupt the loop. You don't have to loop anymore. Okay, but you have to have the awareness.
So you're looping, and then the tenderness is what's not the reactive part. It's the part that actually the better part.
It's the better it's the more productive part.
Yeah. So what does it do? So you feel it. Now you say what? And then you get out of the loop. What is that thing that happens? What does the tender feeling do to get you out of the loop? How does that work? What does that look like?
This is going to sound like a tangent, but it's going to answer it beautifully, I promise. So
You said that last time.
I'm not giving you a time limit this time. I'm not confining myself to 2 minutes.
Ah, that was funny. Thank you. Hey, by the way, I always talk about dingers. You gave me a little bit. This no subject, no intelligence, but that was a good liner I got you on. That was a homer right there. I hit it. Thank you.
My goodness. All right,
Yep.
so here's my answer to that. Humans really, really want. I would boil it down to 3 things. We want love, we want safety, and we want connection. Okay, that's what we want. And so when you're traveling throughout the world, throughout your life, and you have love, safety, and connection, you're not triggered. You're good.
Yeah.
You're enjoying things. You're sinking in. You're like having a good day. When you lose one of those 3 things, or you have the illusion that you might lose them,
Okay.
you get triggered. Okay.
Three-legged stool. One of them's.
Yep.
Ah.
It doesn't
okay,
even have to
okay,
be that
okay.
you actually lost it. It's just the perception
Right.
that it might go causes
fear
us
is
to
there.
get. Yep. A trigger is a resistant emotion. Okay. A trigger is that response that you're fighting. Okay. So the whole idea is that when you start looking for that tender thing and you go, oh my gosh, my human just wants to feel loved in this moment and she doesn't. She just tried to connect with that person and it failed. She got rejected. Or wow, she just shared that thing and she got a response that made her feel really unsafe. And you focus there, you focus on like, oh, my human just had an experience that was hard. And you learn to show up for yourself as your own best friend. It means that no matter what happens to you, you have the support that you need to be resilient to whatever happens. So when we look for that tender emotion, we are breaking that loop. We are going, hold on, I don't need to swirl around in why you just said the thing that you said or why you believe what you just said you believe. I don't need to focus on whether or not you understand me. I don't need to effort to change anything about what just happened. I need to get really good at turning the lens around and looking at myself. Just that, just human, where are you hurting? What's going on? Breaks the loop. Because remember, the loop is you swirling out into everything you can't control and focusing there and making yourself crazy and creating suffering. And breaking the loop is coming back to yourself and going, oh, human, you have feelings about everything that happens to you. When we learn to feel those feelings through, we stop looping.
Let me ask you something here. I took my dear friend Dick off here, and by the way, David, that was awesome, and Claire nailed it. Obviously, I'm saying it because I know it's an easy way to say and not be wrong. So I just pat myself in the back for saying something. What is it? Captain Obvious.
Yep, there you go. Love it.
Yep. So let me think about this. So we. You know what? I'm going to bring him back on because I want to state this question a little better because I think it's important.
Okay.
And you're still okay on time. We're still because we're on
Yep,
like 3
I'm
or
good.
4 now.
I got plenty of time.
Oh my God, for new people added on here. But I want to. Sometimes I like to do this because I want to think through this a little bit more because you made an excellent point there that I just kind of want to hold on to for a minute. But I also think. Thank you again, David. I also think that no, wait, did I skip it? Why? Yeah, no, that's Dirk. I want to get to Dirk's. Yeah, I want to get to his question here in a minute. I'm gonna go with this because it kind of builds on what I'm kind of thinking about, and you may even answer it, and I just say, forget that whole diatribe. Let's move on. Are certain emotions harder to release than others? And this is kind of an interesting one. I would think so. I know I have emotions about people because of who they are.
Yep.
So my emotions tied to that dynamic is certain people or certain situations. It's easier. I get that. And I think that's not what he's talking about here. Or is he? And why?
I mean, I think that's one aspect of what you could take from that.
Yeah.
You want me to run with it?
Yes, but before, are you sitting Indian style? I've noticed that a couple of times.
Yeah, I'm sitting on my couch, so I keep shifting.
I've got this chair back here, and I keep doing this where I put one leg up. You've seen that. I put one, but man, it would be great to be Indian style right
Yeah,
now
it's
because
nice.
my lower back's kicking my ass right now. So, would you please kind of dive into Dirk
Yeah.
here? Because I
Yep.
think this is a really cool.
It is a cool question. And you can look at it from a few different ways. So, are certain emotions harder to release than others? So, Rod kind of started to get into this depending on what triggered the emotion. The more history you have with a person of them not honoring you, not receiving you, not supporting you, the easier it is to get triggered by that person. And the more triggered you are, the harder it's going to be to snap out of it and look for the tender emotion. So, certainly, situation by situation, we have to continue to remind ourselves there's a tender thing underneath there that I need to be looking for, regardless of what other agitation or charge I have. So that's part of it. It's just like depending on the situation and how triggered you are, it's going to be difficult to feel it. But this is a part that we don't think about. I'm going to take you back to your
So
childhood.
that's a person. That's a person. When you say triggered right
Yep.
now in relation to Dirk, certain people, like I expressed a second ago, emotions connected to people
Yep. Or
are
situations.
definitely are situations.
Yep.
But as far as different emotions, is that what he's
Yep.
talking about here, or is he talking about anger versus love, versus, or is he talking about what that emotion's tied to? And
Yeah.
it sounds like that's what he's talking about.
That's where I'm going
Just
right
let
now. So the piece of this that we don't think about is that, and I'm going to just zoom you back to childhood for a split second. I want you to think about the family that you grew up in. And I want you to think
1001,
about
1002.
I want you to think about what emotions were displayed in your household. Like which ones were acceptable. They don't need to be tender, just any emotion. Was it acceptable for people to cry openly and grieve? Was it okay for people to feel really embarrassed? Was it okay for people to express their anger? Was it okay to be frustrated? Was it okay to do something wrong and
Awesome.
like think that, some of us got called stupid.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Some of us got called
Yeah.
too sensitive or too dramatic. Some of us were blamed
Drama
for
queen.
everything.
Yeah.
So if you look back at that and you look at kind of the dynamics of your household, you can see, anger was okay in my house. So I'm pretty practiced at showing my anger. So I'm comfortable. Looking at my anger. I don't have a hard time with that because I've got practice and I've got history. Okay.
Yeah.
So the emotions
And why, all the why around it, because you
Yep.
lived in it.
Yep. And there's acceptance around it. Like it's acceptable behavior to the people that you want to be included with. Like the people that you want to fit in with, they show anger. So you're good there, So the emotions that are harder for us to feel are the ones that we don't have practice with and that we have judgment around. Okay. So if you got judged for feeling deeply, it's going to be hard for you to feel deeply in front of other people, or you might feel shame about feeling grief.
Whoa. That's a big one right there.
Yeah.
That's a big part of society right there.
Yep.
Wow. The first one's important, but when you laid on that, I went, whoa, that's a big deal. That's a big one, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Wow.
The more not okay you feel about what you're feeling, the harder it's going to be to actually feel that through. So it takes.
And that depends on the history, how you were raised or experienced as a younger, the tools you brought from that, whatever it was, if it happened, how that your family, how those around you reacted to that is going to have an effect on down the road.
Absolutely. Or how much of an emotion you are allowed to feel.
Right.
Like if someone dies, it's okay to feel grief for a while. But if you feel really overwhelmed and you're up to your eyeballs and you need to cry at the end of your day, like that might not be acceptable because that wasn't a way that people released in your family. So we can or society, exactly. And so we go, it's okay to cry because of these things, and it's not okay to cry, shows weakness, or you're being dramatic or ridiculous if you cry at these things. So we have to
mind.
Right? So the very first thing we have to do is
no. I'm gonna add to that. We're gonna go over 2 hours. I'm telling you right now.
Awesome.
Unless you spend 1.3 seconds. Hey, Ronaldo came on. Great guest. What she's part of the show.
Cool.
She's part of the TikTok part of this show. We
Cool.
do these lives, and then in between, I think I said this early. We do a TikTok, and that's like drinking water out of a fire hose. So I have two producers that are like answering questions, saying hi to people, so I can tell them what interesting stuff I had here. But she just popped on, and we'll get to her eventually.
Awesome.
But there's a lot of really good interest in this, and so go ahead. We're at an hour and 34 minutes right now. 35, just hit it, and we're at. And just in the last couple of minutes when I started talking, so to go back up in a second, but we're still at 400 people after an hour and a half.
Great.
All right, I'm telling you, do not try and steal do not, because if you tried, it just happened. So go ahead with your thing here, but I just wanted to point that out. That I've got a lot of experience in this little world of mine, and there's some stuff you look at. We got people asking question after question, same person, which is kind of cool. That doesn't always happen.
Great.
And then we got like 3 more other podcasts. So go ahead.
Well, I feel like I've mostly answered this question. It's just, if I was to give you a how do we move forward with this, with emotions that are harder to feel, just start looking for your judgment. Start normalizing the fact that all of us feel all of the things. It's just some people are better at masking than others. Like some people are better at shoving things down than others, but it's very human to feel. It is a natural part of being a person to have feelings, and crying is also a very, very natural part of being a person. So your judgment is not helping.
It's harder also because your judgment changes, where I cut you kind of off there, where you go back into how your family reacted and your friends and associates, but really your classmates can be dumbasses and treat you like crap. But if you come home and you're safe and they're not being, this mooey gooey, here's a participation trophy kind of hovering thing.
Yeah.
But real, I like to
connected.
call there. Yes, but there's also you're either giving birth and to a child, or you're parenting that child, and you, as a parent, you don't just. And too much of us have kind of fallen out of this, I think, and you're kind of bringing some of that flavor back in, because at the end of the day, there's that old thing, and I've kind of got caught up with it because I had 5 boys. At 18, you're going to be ready to go out and hit the world, but children need guidance. And I was fortunate enough that I literally grew up with my oldest kids. I mean, I think my wife at the time had them just so I could have playmates, and we played video games, and I would do all their practices. They were just fun. And I wasn't perfect. It wasn't great. Not everything was perfect, but I also know that, people grow up and it's not okay to be this or that at home. And that's where I kind of, the line you're talking, see, I got to shut up here really quick. Let me get this out. That's where I think the difference of what you're saying, the emotional maturity of this, how you feel about it because of how your family reacted and taught you. Anger, I'm okay with it, is all over the place. Feeling shame because I cried, that's a whole nother thing. But if you did, and you came home and Pop said, hey, dude, what's going on? How you feeling? Talk to me. Or the teenage daughter. There's a big one right there. How's you going on? What's going on? Talk to me. I'm not lecturing you. Just tell me what you want. I just want to listen. And then tell me. Yep. That doesn't happen. It does, but not enough. That's probably why we have 70% or 60 or whatever the right number is. But I bet you that's a big deal right there. Why aren't you the parent of every kid across the country?
I wish
that's
I could
what
be.
I want to know. Yeah, you should be, man. I mean, what you're talking about is the way you should be parenting, the way you should be raising children. And I'm not judging, because I'm saying I grew up in a different era. My dad grew up in a different era, and they're passing these tools along that you're building your life with. Here's a person that now is going to be able to reach down in your tool chest. Thank you, Claire, and add more tools. This is the gig, and I like the class that we teach in AI, because we talk like this. not like the geeks, who just made everything, but I can relate to you.
Yeah.
What you're doing is being able to put a message out there that doesn't have part foo-foo dust and fun sayings and stuff. And I'm not saying anybody here has had that, but that's the extreme.
Yeah.
This is the other side of it, where you're getting somebody who's not only educated, and I've dealt with a lot of educated ones and had these conversations and kind of had as much knowledge as they did. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is another level, and I really, really love like here,
God.
like and Tony.
Thank you.
Antoni Giggle.
So sweet.
Giggle.
Oh.
Claire is such a wise guest. Amazing to witness this. Amazed to witness this. Where'd she go? She also had another one here. What's the first step for someone who's never done inner emotional work before?
Yep.
And that's a lot of people.
Yep. It's a great
question. Lot of people.
Yep.
Yeah, it is. Right.
Yep. So I'm going to give you two things, because remember, we've got a brain that we need to get under control, and we've got a body that we need to listen to in order to feel. So the first two things you want to do are just what I said. You want to look for your judgment of your feelings and your judgment of your human emotion. I don't know if you can see this, but my cat just came on screen. Juniper is now with us.
Oh, that's
she's
so
black,
cute.
and I'm wearing black, so she's hard to see. But
yeah, she's when she changes, there's a little lesser hair in one part of her ear, and she shows up, and then those eyes. She's got those eyes, cat eyes.
So if my arm is moving to the side, I'm just petting my cat. So the first thing you want to do is look for that judgment. Look for where you're making your human
hold on.
wrong.
People are already coming back. We just added 4 people since I quit talking.
I love it. So the whole idea is just look for where your brain is in resistance all the time, and judgment is the biggest way that it's going to show up. Probably, maybe blame will come in there too. So just start looking for those things, and then know to look for that tender feeling underneath. So that's one way that you can arrive to your brain to just start to shift it. But the other thing that you can start to do is just start spending more time in your body. What does your body feel like during the day? Close your eyes, take a deep breath, feel your body. Because your emotions show up in sensations in your body.
Are you talking about what's it called? When you
meditate?
I'm doing this wrong. Meditate. Are you talking about meditating, or are you just talking about, what, I do feel kind of crappy right now, or I do feel kind of down right now? And is that's a difference? Is that where are you at there? Sorry, I just got the hiccups. I'm gonna get off. Right. God's saying shut up.
So what I'm saying actually is slightly different. It's to literally just give yourself a break from the outside world. That's why I'm telling you to close your eyes, take a deep breath, because breath is a mobilizer of emotion in your body for whatever reason. That's the truth. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and then literally you're bringing your attention and your intention and your attention down into your body, and you're going, what do I feel? What's happening in my lungs? Do I have a knot in my stomach? Is there anything going on in my throat? What are my sensations? Okay. And you're literally feel your body more of the day. If you can, I have specific practices that I'm not going to get into here that bring people through these, but there are so many people on YouTube that you can just go body scan meditation, type that into YouTube, body scan meditation. And these people will take you, they'll get you grounded and get you in your body, but then they'll go, okay, start with your right big toe. What does your right big toe feel like? Okay, we're moving to the right knee. What does your right knee feel like? And they'll help you do a scan of your body. So you literally bring your attention and you start to feel into that. The reason that this is important, again, is because your emotions show up as sensation collecting in your body. And so if you spend all day numb from the neck down because you're just thinking, chewing on things, and you're not paying attention to your body, one, you're probably missing the signals to rest, to drink water, to stand up and stretch. Like your body is probably hurting and having a hard time, but then also you're missing that, oh, I did have an emotional response when that person spoke to me that way. Like, oh, I did feel something when I saw that person sitting on the side of the road and they looked hungry. Like, oh, I did feel something when my daughter shared what happened to her at recess and I didn't know what to say. Like you start to notice that there are these moments that you've got emotions coming up. And if you're not in your body, you're going to miss them.
So how do you go from just missing them. Let's say there's that, because if you're not in your body, you're going to miss them.
Yeah.
But then there's those moments, and I can think of many where there's that moment, and you're like, okay, how do I handle this? Because you know what you just said. I didn't miss it on this case, in this example. I caught it, but you don't know what the hell to do. How do you handle that? That's got to be a scary thing. I know it's a scary thing, because probably at that point, the best you're going to do, because you haven't done this, you haven't lived this way. So Claire, right? Follow with me here.
I'm with you.
The muscle needs
Building.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so if you're sitting back and you're let's say 30, I don't know what age kids are having babies at. Mine's in your mid 30s or 40s, and we'll leave the rest of it out. That's miracle sciences. When you're there and you haven't dealt with this, and then you're young one who now you're creating the next generation.
Yep.
Who's going to create the next generation? So on, Perel, right? Perel shampoo, so on and doubles.
Yep.
And that's what you're building here. And if you don't have that to pass on, because you haven't gone through that, there's going to be that moment as that dad who's got now stay with that teenage girl.
Yeah.
And this is easier for moms, so I'm making this a little extreme, but not really, because I think dads are at that age at least as important to teenage girls as moms are.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big thing.
Yeah.
It's the first man she's ever shown a man how to show her love.
Yeah.
First time ever.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal. And we don't get that. I don't think we pay enough attention to that. I learned it from my kids. They taught me, because I grew up boys, which is a fucking excuse, but I didn't get that, but they're teaching me, especially my youngest son, who out of high school sweethearts, into college, and they got married, and then a year later had a baby. I got a 16-year-old, just got her a car for her sweet 16th birthday. It was the best thing I ever.
Wow.
I have way more fun than they do. So, so we are, how does that, obviously this is I'm a sales pitching for you here. I've been doing it every once in a while because I'm impressed as hell, to be honest with you. And by the way, folks, I'm not getting any money for saying any of this stuff. That is, she's not sponsoring us. I promise. But I can't help myself, damn it. But if you're like, you've got a 16-year-old, my 38-year-old son, this is why you're blowing my mind. I'm just going to leave it there. He has a 16-year-old daughter, and he's gone through all sorts of things. He and I went through things. So he, as a father, has met those moments, because maybe not as good, but I keep doing that. I want to look down here on the screen like you're doing right now, so you can see what I look like.
Yeah.
Because what I mean, because when I do this, I can't see you, and it sucks.
Yeah.
But I want to be talking to you. Yeah. So he's gone through that. But what you're doing is one of the many things. But as I would recommend, because the great middle class can only be built by people who know what they know. Mm-hmm. You don't know what you know. So a little bit of health. If you need to learn a job, or if you need to run a 8.9 second 100-yard dash, or whatever that right thing is, you go to an expert, somebody who gets you there. You don't go to your dad anymore. Your dad did great, but he doesn't want, he's never taught anybody to do 9.8 seconds. So you go to an expert. Yep. Now I'm going to look at you. Go ahead.
I don't think I understand what your question is, Rod.
Okay, so at 40 years old, if you haven't experienced a young teenager's critical crisis, and you're at that point, you need to have some inner parts to not screw that whole thing up and make that generation now continue on in how you're doing. You're teaching your kid, whether it's good or bad, you're teaching them.
Yeah.
So my question is, I don't know what my question is. Thank you for doing what you do is my real point. I didn't really have a question there. So okay, you just threw me under the bus.
I want to build actually. I want to build on what you just said.
That was throwing me under the bus. Build on
I just didn't understand your question. No, but what you just said was brilliant because what you're getting at.
Hey, hold on. That's going to be an advertisement. Say that. Pause for a second. Hold on. Pause for a second. Now say it again with excitement.
Oh my goodness. Rod, that was brilliant.
Oh, I'm so honored that you said that. Thank you so much. Is that why guests keep coming on that are so smart because they understand?
You're
Get to Don here before I look at this. We're losing people left and right now. So let's get through here and get into some more of the stuff because I got another 10, 12, at least 8, 10 questions here.
Well, so
you're okay on time, right?
What?
You're still okay on time.
I'm still good. I still have another hour before I need to
go.
Yeah.
I got to get out of here before an hour.
Okay, good. So what you're hinting at is that we can't give other people what we don't have. And so if you haven't learned to feel your own feelings and show up for your own feelings, when other people are feeling in front of you, you're going to distract them. You're going to tell them not to cry. You're going to judge them. You're going to close down. You're going to do something. So if we want to hold space for people, we have to hold space for ourselves, which is why I teach people to come back to themselves first, because once you do that, you're naturally going to know how to show up for the people in your life. We don't need to effort at that.
That's exactly. You don't know what you don't know. You can't pass on what you don't know. And that's why I want to, and you're right. It wasn't a question, but it's an observation because, I did some wrestling into the higher levels of stuff and my coaches were always better than I was. They had to be,
right.
As well as other things and everything else. You have to go, and I'm just kind of blowing it out there because I would never have this many. Hey guys, look at this is an expert. I know I can't be, whether people do whatever people do and all that, that's fine. But I can literally sit here and go, man, this is something you guys really got to follow up. You got to get into this. And again, I got nothing out of this except fulfilling my mission for this hour and 52 minutes in 4 seconds. I'm fulfilling my promise to our family, to our community, because I'm not going to not say, man, Claire, this is what society at this level is what society needs. Sorry, I got a little itch going here. And so I no question, you caught me there. That was throwing me under the bus, but I get it. But this is just really impressive. I mean, it's just very important, and I just want to keep driving that point home. And I hope producer Barbie and producer Ronaldo don't give me crap afterwards. Gee, you were a little mystified there, weren't you? There, producer, host Rod. Come on, man, get a little more professional. Is it possible to misidentify emotions during the healing work? This is, I thought, an interesting twist. How do we avoid that? Actually, you help them avoid that, but let's say there is no you in this situation. How do they avoid that, right?
So my answer might actually surprise you. This is a very human question. And this goes, there's a right way to feel, and I don't want to do it wrong. So how can I keep myself from doing it wrong? And the truth is you can't do it wrong. So the only thing you have to do is just arrive to whatever's happening in your body. And if you say to yourself, I'm feeling frustrated, and you're not frustrated, you're irritated. It doesn't matter.
That's a misidentifier.
It's a misidentify, but it doesn't matter because what you're doing is you're going, I'm noticing I'm having a feeling and I'm slowing it down. And so again, if we go back to you building that muscle, just noticing that you're having a feeling, if you haven't known you had a feeling before, is a big step. That's
you don't even know. In the beginning, you don't even know. Oh, you got to learn. Go ahead. Yeah. Okay. I get you.
But also,
I told you guys. I told you.
But so also, I encourage people to say things out loud to themselves because your body will respond to the words that you say out loud. So if you don't know how you're feeling, ask yourself out loud, is this grief? Is this abandonment? Is this diminishment? If you want help with this, literally in the Conscious Heart Academy, I lead workshops on this, but also I have a framework that's called the layers of feeling that takes you
Is
from.
that all in the contact? Is that all in the contact information?
I just sent you my website, which
everything.
will give them
It has
everything.
everything. Go ahead.
The website will give them everything.
Gotcha.
So the layers of feeling takes you from the thought that you're having down through the belief that's triggered into your resistance to your tender emotion and then down into your tender emotion. And the reason I'm bringing that in right now is because it is so helpful in the beginning of this process to have that layers of feeling in front of you with all of the different possibilities of tender emotion and of resistance in front of you, because then you have a list and you can out loud go, is this frustration? Is this irritation? Am I feeling judgmental? Is this blame? Am I feeling hopeless? And then when you get
a checklist,
it's not a checklist. It's just sort of a
you're just saying mentally. Gotcha.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. So my experience with this and the experience of most of my clients is that when you land on the thing that describes how you're feeling, your body sensation is going to amplify. So it's kind of like muscle testing for emotions. When you say the emotion out loud, when you acknowledge the emotion out loud, it's going to amplify and give you more access to tears. So that's why it's really helpful to have a list in front of you of things you could ask yourself, because then you don't need to come up with it. Then it's just like you just ask yourself the things on the list.
More of a flow.
Yeah. It's like a little, hold your hand.
Absolutely. All right. So Don here, he's got a really good second question. So Don, thank you excuse me, let's hiccups again. See what look at, while you were talking, a couple more people came back. Don, is it possible to mystify your emotions during the healing work? How do we avoid this? Well, I think you answered the last part of that is you can't do it wrong.
You can't do it wrong.
You're learning. So that's all good. Well, he followed that up with, does this framework work for trauma recovery as well? We talked about childhood trauma and all that stuff. I'm assuming the answer is very easy. So I can say yes. Yes. But fill it in and make it an important answer. Would you?
Yeah, absolutely. So remember how I told you that I was having panic attacks and I was really messed up when I came back from Africa. And also that I was having trouble processing my grief when I worked in the bone marrow unit. So this framework, the traumatic things that have happened to me in my life that I am cognitively aware of, like conscious memories. We all have trauma that is conscious. It's a conscious memory. And then we have trauma that is unconscious from things that we can't remember from either way earlier than when we were remembering things or things that our brains have literally siphoned off, okay, to protect us from. So any trauma that you have, the reason that I love this framework so much is that as your body gets good at feeling the smaller stuff, as you start to show up for the part of you that felt diminished because of the way that your boss spoke to you, as you start to have compassion and feel through the feelings of being a failure or not knowing what to say to your child when they needed you, or the moments where you didn't measure up, like when you have on the fly more of those moments where your body goes, wow, human is feeling, and they're experiencing relief on the other side. Let's release more. This is why I call it intuitive emotional healing. Your body has an intuitive way it's going to find its way through it. And when your body goes, human is ready to start clearing this old stuff that they've been holding on to for a long time, your body will access deeper feeling than you've had before. And the thing that I like to put in here is
because you're building the muscle.
Exactly. You're training for the marathon. Okay. And so, right. And so you get to a point where your body, it has trust in it. You don't feel like you're pushed down by the emotions. It's just a normal part of processing. And at that point, bigger, deeper stuff than you've had access to will start to come up. But it doesn't come up in the beginning. If it does, if you consciously have access to memory and you're trying to force yourself to go in there, you're going to have a hard time. You're going to start to stumble and you're going to start to get lost in your brain. So you got to just give yourself permission to put the big stuff aside for a little bit. Just learn to feel the small stuff throughout the day. Build that muscle. But the answer to your, exactly. Like you need training wheels first, right? You don't like
right.
deadlift your own body weight when you've never lifted anything before. Like you just don't do
Oh,
that.
I
So,
wouldn't want to do that. I would
right? You
not
could get
want to do
hurt,
that.
right?
Yeah, I could. Yeah, knees.
So,
Yeah.
so I don't have
So,
panic attacks anymore. I don't have anxiety. I don't have depression. I don't have a hard time holding any of the grief that comes up in my life. And I also can talk at length about my experiences in Africa, and I don't tremble. I don't have a trauma response. I'm fine. I'm good. So the answer
yeah.
is yes, this can work for trauma recovery. It just looks different. It's like a roundabout way where you're just going to start to notice that those old things that used to bother you, they're lighter, and eventually they just won't be there.
Yeah, so I'm going to leave him up here because I don't want to go on the next one yet, because I think I've got enough guts to ask the question I avoided asking you earlier. And then we went down a couple of conversations.
Juicy. What is it?
Yeah, no, it's not as big as I'm setting it up to be, but I'm curious about this.
Okay.
I like drama. I'm being dramatic right now. Hollywood. So what I wanted to ask at that point, and I was going to lead in, it did lead into a point, but I've listened to several ways that you've laid things out, and it's gotten me curious because although human beings, the human experience, we talked about all of that's being a shared experience. And, all I talk about neighbors, whether you're black, white, or religious differences, if you've got a family and a couple of kids, you got all the same issues. So we can build on that and have this conversation, because none of that matters. We are the human experience. But now, as I listen to because I do a lot of these, and so what, but some of the things you say are slightly different, because let's talk about hormones now. Not get into the subject, but there is a difference in how a coach, professional, will be able to not isolate, but identify and work with. There's a difference between women and men in this for multiple reasons, because the society, women have to, you know where I'm going, and I'm not going to get myself in trouble here. I don't want to get in that whole rabbit hole. Okay. So what is your practice in the classes, in the this and the that, 60-40, 70-30? Do you want to tell me, or shut the hell up, Rod? It doesn't matter.
Are you asking about how many men I have in my practice? Is that your question?
What's the difference? Well,
it's 80-20. 80% women, I would say.
Oh, yeah, I knew it'd be high, because we're just figuring this out, us guys. We've been battling against society and what we've been told all our life by our dads and society. And so it's 80-20. So when you do that, now it's got to be difference between the community and class, because that's set up different. But when you do one-on-one stuff, there's obviously a different approach. And just make this light, because we still got a few more here. If you don't mind, we haven't talked about that. And I think it's worth noting. Difference between men and women, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm handing you back to yourself. And so you're going to take whatever I'm saying, and whatever resonates and whatever you're ready for is what you're going to dive into. So for me, in the way that I teach, I don't know that I teach.
This is why I asked the question, by the way. This is what right here, Dixon. This is why I asked that question. Dan, thank you. But what you teach women, go ahead. But this is why I asked the question. We avoid it. Women are much more, they're more caregiver. There's a different emotional structure, right or wrong, but that work is probably flows a bit more and has different reasons for going down this alley. Because you said something, I think women take themselves much more punishable, that's the right word, than men do. Men just compartmentalize it, and women always say, I'm ugly, I'm this and that, because Vogue has always been in their life, Vogue magazine, or this or that. Their whole focus at the end of the day is the same. But if you don't have a healthy relationship, both could be, and I'm assuming heterosexual here, no politics here, but the husband and wife may have the same issues, but the way they express and or need help from that come from different places, because one's testosterone and one's estrogen to a great deal, and then others that were raised that way and this way and that way, both sides. How do you say to that? What does that mean to you when you're approaching the 20% and having that, or the 80%? Because I assume the 80% is all fairly similar with their own issues, and then differently is the 20%.
You would think, but it's so wildly different. It depends on what generation you're in. It depends on where you grew up. It's, yeah.
Okay.
I have clients in their 80s. I have clients in their 20s. It really, wow. I've worked with kids. I mean, it depends on.
I bet a lot more now. Kids are kind of trapped in some weird shit right now.
So it has less to do. I would honestly say it has less to do with gender lines, and it has more to do with just how you were socialized.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Guys are afraid of it still, starting to break in a little bit though.
Yep. But I will say in general, we put immense pressure on men to hold it together. And so there's more pressure on men not to show emotion. And so I do feel like the amount of self-judgment and the amount of burying does tend to be more prevalent in a different way because of the societal pressure in men. So, but when it comes to this work, it's you with you. And so it's you going, I just got to look at my own brain. I got to look at my own judgments of myself, regardless of where it came from, regardless of whether it came from society or my dad or whoever. My job is to go, what did my human live through? And what do I need to witness in myself so I can heal that back there? So it's you coming back to you.
So it's you coming back to you. A little bit of difference in words that men would use than women. But at the end of the day, there isn't anything about that. It's just getting your ass in there. And then you coming back to you doing the work.
Being willing to feel the sensation in your body, being willing to feel the things through in safety. Yeah, it's just your own willingness. I always say,
don't take my route. Don't take my route. Do it what way she's talking about, because my route was, okay, now I have to. It's all over the place.
Well,
so
some people never do it.
Exactly.
Some people go their whole lives and never do it. So it's such an individual thing. But the truth is, if you're going to do this work, you need three things. You need the time to actually sink in, be self-aware, spend time with yourself, get to know your brain. You need to be willing, like you need to not be exhausted. You've got to have some gas in your tank to have curiosity toward yourself. But the third thing is, like, you need safety within your own system. You need to know that you're not going to judge you. You're not going to make you wrong for what you just walked through. You're going to actually have some space to, again, bring in that curiosity and not condemn yourself. So this internal emotional safety is something we really need. And if we bring this back to the pressure on men in society, it takes more sometimes for them to feel safe, to get in there and actually feel that through. So that's real. And I feel like it's helpful to acknowledge that.
Yeah. Let's also take it one more step, which is tying into Anita's here. Okay. There's a plan here with it. And you're right. To be honest with you, this little flow here feels a little, hey, you say this and I'll say this.
I know, it's wonderful.
Because it's working right through here. And I'm kind of enjoying, especially this part right here. So Dixon, how can we build trust within ourselves that we've been avoiding for so long? I'm assuming I avoid, I think guys are more known for that, right or wrong. Let's not make any judgments. But the very next thing that Anita says here, as you were explaining what you were talking about, is how can partners or friends, and don't answer it right away. I got to follow up to it or tweak to it at the end. How can partners or friends support someone using an emotional healing method? Now, I heard this the other day, and it was actually from a woman. Probably your age-ish, but it was this conversation similar to this, and there's a lot of just plain old relationship shows, and so they talk about certain things and this and that, and one thing that really hit me, because I get this, and this may be a cop-out. I hope it's not, and I think you'll understand what I'm really leading up to here. This is a great build, isn't it? I got a little foreshadowing in here. It's like your intro. Well, Claire's here to talk about this, and we're gonna have fun today. No, I didn't go that way here. But this show that I'm referring, and many of them, that I'm referring to, there's a thing that happens that should never ever happen. And this, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think so. To transition over from Dixon to Anita, when the couple is working together or friends are working together, and somebody, especially a man, I think, says something. Oh God, here we go. What the hell? What are you doing? Stop it. Knock it off, Claire. I know you're paying me back for shit I gave you earlier by not allowing me to go through certain questions because it's oh no, I don't want to cry right now.
Yeah.
I do, but going in that transition, how can partners or friends support? So when you do that, if I am, and you're my partner, and I expose myself to you in a very vulnerable way, you can never use that against them, right? I got to get out. Go ahead and answer.
What you're touching on is a really deep thing. And it's, we really need to feel safe with people to let down. And when we let down in front of other people, if we're not received, then we're more likely to protect ourselves and not let down in the future. And
They'll
so if
never
we want
hear it again. That person will never hear your true emotions.
Yeah. Or there needs to be big repair there. Like if that person is a close person for you,
True.
and you don't want to lose that relationship, then the question is, how willing am I to be honest about my feelings and what happened for me there? And if I feel like this person can receive feedback and would want to lean in because they wouldn't want to hurt me, then I do have that conversation. But if this is a person who clearly doesn't care about how they're affecting me and they're shutting me down or judging me, then I just learned what the boundaries of that relationship are.
Oh, damn it. What? I can't get away with anything, man. Everything I say, well, I think is pretty intelligent. And then you go and do this other thing to it that it follows along. No, I'm not threatening, no under the bus here. But that was really good. That was really good. Now true. Now adding to that or stepping back into this,
yep.
Anita. So we've got that, and that makes perfect sense. And I never thought about the rebuilding part because,
yep.
well, even that's hard though, because honestly, I'm there. I've been there. I'm in there. You know, it's there are things that you are able to rebuild from, and depending on the circumstances, you know, of the past and that moment mixed together. But still, it's. I mean, when you throw that back at somebody, no matter how good. Now, if they're just an ass, that's easy. You're not. You're done. Get out of here. I'm never saying anything to you again. I have those closer than you would think. Somebody would have those. That's unfortunate. Not really close. Not. Yeah, I don't want to get it. But now that we're talking about this, what do they do? What's that healing? Just be there for them. How do you help them heal? And now we've already set the boundary. Do not go back. Do not throw it in anybody's face, right? That's enough.
Are we talking about your scenario or are we talking about Anita's question?
Anita's question.
Okay. In this, it depends on who the person is. Like if you've known them for a long time, you know what they're comfortable with. You know what makes them uncomfortable. Like just think about who they are as a person.
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Yep. And then the biggest thing that I can offer is just be curious and ask questions and then listen. Because when people are in their own healing process, they're getting to know themselves again and they're trying to listen to that inner voice more.
Yep.
And so the outer chatter is not as helpful. When we're trusting ourselves more, we don't really want other people's input. We want connection. We want to be able to share, this is what I'm going through. This is what I'm learning about myself. Like this is a realization.
Just listen.
Well, listen and ask questions and then reflect on, wow, can I relate to that? Like,
yeah. Oh, good point.
We want to just be in authentic connection with people. You know, we don't want to be like policing ourselves to make sure we're doing it right. But it's just like, what feels good to you when you're in the middle of a deep process? Like it feels good to have someone listening. It feels good to have someone being curious about your process. Like just treat them like a person. And remember, you can't give them what you don't have. So if you're uncomfortable feeling your feelings, it's time for you to start feeling your feelings.
That goes back a couple of when I was saying, you got to get educated here.
Yep.
So as Kobe says here,
Oh,
beautiful
that's really
energy in
nice.
this live, feeling so seen and so heard.
Oh,
Those are
good.
awesome words. Thank you,
Yeah.
Kobe. And
Oh,
and
so sweet.
Anita, thank you. Yeah,
Yes,
very much
Anita,
so.
great. Thank you.
Kobe, following back up here, what are some signs of real progress
Oh,
in
I love this
intuitive
question.
emotional? Yeah, because he's obvious. This is going back a little bit when you were doing intuitive before, and I wasn't sure, but he kind of caught. I think he grabbed it, man, because this is really good. I think.
Yeah. Yep.
And from your reaction, I'm just pretending I know what he's talking about.
Yeah. So some signs that you've really done some healing and released some things are you're not feeling as judgmental, if judgment has been a big thing for you. Feeling more naturally joyful, like laughing more, is a good indication that you've done some big healing.
Okay, yeah. That
Yep,
makes sense.
not dreading crying, like crying freely is a pretty good indication that you've done some healing. But just in general, if you have a memory or memories that come up or people that from your past that you can think about and start to get into like an argument within your head, or things that you play over and over again, something that you wish you hadn't said years ago, a decision that you made that didn't go well. When you notice that your internal monologue about that is not looping anymore, like when you're like, wow, I really haven't thought, like if we bring it back to Africa for me, like, wow, I can talk about Africa and I don't get that pit in my stomach. I don't start sweating. Like, wow, I've really healed that. So we get these positive reinforcement signals from our bodies, but also just emotionally, if you're feeling lighter, if you're finding it easier to connect with other people, like the best example we have of emotionally available, joyful people are children who haven't been traumatized yet. They hold each other's hands, they laugh, they feel in a big way, they're creative, they take chances, they're connected.
You said the word yet. You said the word yet, though. That's unfortunate, but so many kids do. I know. I'm not throwing you under the bus. I'm saying it's unfortunate.
But that's the human experience, right? Is like we go through trauma, tiny traumas and big traumas.
True.
And so children do, that's why they start to shut down, is because over time, as they feel, they see like, oh, people don't like the way that I'm feeling. So they start to change the way that they show up and they change their behavior to cope with that. And all of those are little traumatic experiences. But that's just part of the human experience. It's what helps us grow, honestly.
I'm gonna add to that because somebody said this the other day, and you hear it all the time. You're gonna know exactly what I'm saying. You talked about children, little trauma, big trauma, whatever. They start shutting down. Made me think instantly. The best example, I'm gonna say a sentence. You know what's that word you said? Cringe? No. What was the word you said? You understand what the picture means? Earlier
what?
in the. This earlier, you said something. I said, I love that word. And you said, yeah, but you get a mental picture of what it is, right?
Oh, curmudgeon-y.
Curmudgeon-y.
Yeah, curmudgeon-y.
So in that same sort of thing, you're going to get this picture. This is, in my opinion, the best example of what you just said about kids shutting down. And you're going to go, yeah, no shit. Captain Obvious again statement right now. Who are the best salespeople in the world by massive amount? Kids can sell their parents on anything. Yep. You're not scared of it? Yep. Doesn't matter. They'll keep asking. They'll keep bugging you. They'll keep boom, 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 boom.
Yep.
When you grow up in those little traumas and big, there's only a certain percentage of people that, and probably the ones who weren't great salespeople to their parents, because their parents were like, shut up, no, you're not getting that. So they had to work for it. But anyway, funny. All kidding aside.
Yeah.
Who are the best? Who are the best? Kids. They're the best salespeople. I hear this every once in a while. True. Is that not a good example or no?
Yeah, that's a good example. Yeah, kids are more just like they're not fearful. They're just more authentic. They don't have to effort at it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It just comes out. Can I have that? Walking down the aisle. Can I have this?
Yep.
Can I have this?
Well, their yeses are clear, their no's are clear, and we teach them to abandon those to people please. We go, no, you need to hug that person. Like, go hug them, like, don't say that. That's not kind, like some of it is learning to be in community and to be kind to people, but some of it is us going, no, don't listen to that little voice in you that says no, go help that person because that's the right thing to do. And sometimes it is. But sometimes it causes that little kid to then go, I can't trust my own internal no.
Deeper level. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's perfect. So thank you very much. Kobe. Oh, Kobe. I'm saying Kobe. You're from California, Kobe Bryant, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You said Black Mamba, and I wanted to say Kobe then, but now I see his name. I say Kobe. So, it came back. It's that vibe. So John here, how do you help clients stay? And I think the rest of them are just, you're an awesome person. Can you get us out of Rod's show so we can learn real stuff? How do you help clients stay consistent with emotional practices over time? I think it gets easier. Well, maybe it does or doesn't, because it is work. But to me, as I really started getting into it, in that moment that producer Barbie told me, you're going to be okay. She used to give me those lavender, you know, all that stuff, right? Salt rocks, salt in your bath, and you know, all that kind of stuff. I have things I hold, you know, and so it got there, but at that time, you had said this before. At that time, I feared this was my life. I could not see how it would be any different at this point, because I've just crushed, you know, King Saul in the ashes, scraping the ashes from his skin. I was there, you know, and she told me and convinced me, didn't just tell me. She could tell me anything. She convinced me. She made me believe. And really, it started to heal pretty quick after that, to be honest with you. It's kind of bizarre. Back to the mind. I believed it because she made me believe it and supported it.
Yeah, and you felt seen and loved. And yeah.
You go, girl. What about this, though? How do you keep them? I'm thinking it gets more addicting, and you want to keep doing this because you feel it, but maybe it's not. There's difficulties. John, it's a great question.
It's a great question.
Claire, would you teach me, please?
Well, I think some of the shortfalls of coaching are that we start to think of ourselves as like a checklist. And when we think about doing emotional practices, it's like, oh, this is something I should do because I need to fix this thing in me. And so I just have a different way of looking at it. So I call this the couch analogy. So in self-reflection and in personal development work, it's usually us.
Oh, you're on a couch too.
I'm also on a couch, which is great.
There was a double entendre there.
Yep. So I want you to imagine that you are sitting next to an exact copy of you. Okay. It's you with you exactly as you are. There's two of you here. And in self-reflection, what we do is I'm going to divide us into brain Claire and heart Claire. So brain Claire in self-awareness via journaling or whatever practice goes, I'm aware of Claire, and let me tell you about her. She's got this that's pretty messed up. She's working on this. She's done okay here. She's starting to grow in this area. I'm actually being kind to her about this now. This is really needing some work. We're not talking to Claire. We're talking about Claire to the room, okay? That's how most practices are. We're acting like this is a project that I'm just kind of checking boxes around, and I'm just kind of telling you, I'm giving you a progress report. What I'm inviting people into is a completely different thing. What I'm inviting you to do is to take a deep breath, not talk to the room about Claire, but to turn to her and go, sweetheart, how are you doing? I'm not going to talk about you anymore because that actually hasn't really been kind this entire time.
You killed me on that one. That's
right. So I'm going to ask her, how do you feel? I saw that person spoke to you like that earlier, and that was really unkind. Are you okay?
Gotcha.
Right. And so it's a very different thing. You're building a relationship with yourself. So we don't have to effort to stay consistent when it comes to people that we love. You take care of people you love. You want to know how they're doing. You want to be with them. And so that's the difference here, is you're crafting a relationship with you where you're looking in the mirror at this person that is staring back at you every day, and you're going, I'm proud of you. I know who you are. I'm going to say no when I'm hearing you say no. I'm going to honor you, and I'm going to take care of you because that's what feels good. It feels good to take care of you, not because you're a box that I need to check, not because there's something wrong with you that needs to be fixed, but because you're a human that I love. Yeah.
Look, you saw me looking down a second ago. I was listening, but I had to do this. We've been going 2.5 hours.
I
Almost.
know,
We'll,
my
we'll
God.
have gone 2.5. I know it's been simple as hell too.
No, so
Which
fast.
is crazy. I
It's
mean,
great.
yeah. When you talk about some of the interviews that have gone on for like 3 hours and you can't figure out how. Well, it's
Yeah.
how right here.
Yeah.
I mean, but before you go on to Adam Wayne here, reason I wasn't distracted. I was doing this because I mentioned like I said, 2.5 hours ago. So I think this was probably about 25 minutes in or so ish. I mentioned, hey, producer Barbie, are you listening to this? I know that would connect with it. I don't remember the exact name, but you remember that?
Yep.
Oh shit, just went out. Hold on. So I'm just going to do this really quick. I know
Yeah.
it's not professional, but I don't care. It's my show. So that's producer. So she hadn't gone on. Now I feel bad because she probably had to come on here because I called her out. You called me out. I'm just reflecting, or I'm reflecting.
I'm reflecting. Yeah.
So that would be a comment in here, but she's probably like, I'm going to hear about that. we have shows. We have meetings after every show, and kind of we go through review, and then I have my review at night so that I can not be as bad as. Obviously, my reviews haven't been going very well because I try not to be as bad as I normally am. But so I just wanted to show you that. So producer Barbie's here. She's giving me the silent treatment, I think. But not really. She's like, okay, let Claire know. Okay, let Claire. I'm nudging you here. Adam, your work is deeply inspiring, and I know he's not talking about me.
So sweet.
Thank you for your conversation. That's very, very awesome. A couple more here. This is the third show, I think. James, how this is? I actually know this, Dr. X. We're not friends or anything, but anyway, this is soul level truth. How can we bring this into schools? We talked about families. If you want to go down that whole thing, we should keep in touch and maybe do another, because there was a subject you said there. I can speak an hour and a half on that. Yeah. This is a really big deal. So right now, this is a subject, as you know, that's really near and dear. And actually, as you can tell, a lot of people watch this show that say, oh, God, okay, he's having another one of these. Let's see what this is, because people are getting free advice too. To be honest with you, they could not go into a psychologist. They could not go into a place, spend 2.5 hours with Claire and get this kind of information nowhere. No, not that I can ever imagine. And believe me, I've been doing this a while, this subject. So yeah, let's keep in touch. Yeah. I got a couple more things here, but let's keep in touch and let's have another show, because
I'd love to.
How can we bring this into the schools? My book is 13 chapters, and I only did not do that. I put it on the shelf because I started this platform so I could build up a platform to sell the book. You know how how that works. So I haven't gone back to there because this is like shooting heroin right into your vein all day and all night. This is like addictive. It's very fun, as you know. You do these. Yeah. You do them way better than I do, but I have more fun than you do, I think. I like fucking around more than you do, so I don't need to give them facts, so I get that option. So the James show, we already said, right? This is school and families. I want to get into the schools thing. I don't know if you can see my pointer here, but I want to get in the schools thing because there's a couple of ways to address that. Let's not get into it, but I just want to leave the James how. I don't. That's a new show. That's not. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Here we go. Look at the what is it? ADHD. Squirrel. I So at the end of the day, I want to get in this, but there's also another side. And just shake your head, because we're both getting a little backed up here. Starting to, no worries. But at the end of the day, the school you talked about, the community that's kind of where we are all supplementing the school system to a degree because it's failing us horribly. Europe, actually, I believe, has a much better school system and I wish we could do more things, but we spend more on a kid than anywhere else in there. There's a cat. I just saw her.
Yeah.
Saw the tail. And we spend more than anybody, and we're like what 40th, and we don't even do any of this stuff. None of this. All we do is teach how to screw up society is what basically school is all about right now. And that's another political side. But one whole chapter is for schools for this reason. We should be doing so many. We need math, history, and how can you have this in your life? And maybe as a, what are they called? Electives. Yeah. But you should be exposed to this as a child, as a kid growing up at multiple levels. So I love that. Let's go back to the James Show. Schools and families. We already talked about families. I just gave a little bit, and you gave your yep. So we're going to let that one go and do it for next show.
Okay.
If that's
Sounds
all right.
good. It's totally fine.
Mac, thank you for making emotional healing feel approachable and human. This is what we were talking about. Mac knows.
Means so
Mac
much
knows.
to me.
Yeah, it's a big deal
That's so
because
kind.
society hasn't broken through that yet.
Yeah.
Especially for men, and that's it just is. So I love hearing a man talk about that. And he obviously is a way better dresser than I am. So he's got all my stuff working for him. Thanks, Mac. I appreciate that.
Oh, Mac, that is my goal in life, is to make this approachable and easy and human and relatable.
It is.
So I'm
and
so glad that that's how it's coming across. It really
I
means
love
so
the
much.
way
Thank you.
I love the way you jumped in and said it, because what you said was exactly perfect. You get people appreciating the help, but you don't get a lot of a Mac coming on and saying thank you for making it approachable.
Yeah. Yep.
And human.
Yeah.
That's a difference. That's a gift you have that a lot of people don't even come close to having. And so, yeah, I get where Mac's coming from here big time. Now, the Adventure Show, your voice is so calming. You notice the Adventure Show? Like here's another, it's the third podcast, I think, or whatever show they have.
Love it.
Perfect for guiding emotional healing. I like that.
Thank you.
I think it's not just your voice is calming, but also the information is, I was trying to express this earlier, confidently given, where it doesn't sound practiced or rehearsed. It's authentic, but it's also another level. And when you talk about calming, we've laughed a lot. Calming is almost just a little bit above boring, right? So we've laughed. Look at right there, but the flow coming out behind the words is the call for me. That's what I think the Adventure Show is kind of getting at. So I really appreciate their comments there, right? Do you?
So kind. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
There's your contact information.
Yeah.
And here is Ronalda. She is awesome. She's so creative. You ought to meet this lady sometime.
Nice.
See, where are you? You're in are you in Boston?
I'm in Maine.
No, Maine. She's in South Carolina.
Okay. Cool.
So you're along the way there. I doubt you're going to meet up anytime soon. But great guest. Great guest or guest. Hold on. Very good subject today. Keep up the good work.
Oh, thank you.
So, now I know she'll probably stay with me. I'm guessing. We got a thing. Well, not a thing. We're digital friends. That's not a thing.
Right. Yeah.
So last thoughts. I mean, right now, we're over 2:30. You
wow.
by 17 minutes now have broke our personal record.
Oh my gosh.
The show. Yeah, 17 minutes. 17 minutes. And for like 2.5, and for two of that, there was like 400 people on. The other one that I'm talking, well, actually we've had a couple up there, but people really drop off because they got other lives to do.
Yeah.
And I'm only so interested, and you kept them on for a lot longer. So last words, comments, closings, wave. I'm going to close the show out, and then I'm going to go take a nap because you tired my ass out. Stick around, though. Stick around. I'm going to throw you in the green room, and let's keep in touch.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
But for now, I got your gig up,
Yep.
and I told you I could time that. Ronaldo kind of messed it up where she jumped in a little bit after, but nah, forgive her. She's cool. But she is very much into exactly what you're talking about.
Cool.
She always comes she didn't always come onto the show. We do the TikTok together. I think I mentioned that.
Yep.
She's a moderator along with producer Barbie, because I can't drink water through a fire hose. And so she is very into this stuff, though, the vibe. Her and I talk about this a lot. And if you look at any of her creative, she's a creative. If you look at any of her work, you'll see that vibe always coming through of the earth, and the people tell stories in different ways, and you can tell she would be on here because of you and this message. And she waited all the way to the end to say something, which is because she probably was sitting back taking all this in. I really appreciate it. Last words, wave goodbye, and then we're getting the hell out of here after I talk to you in the green room. I need some green peanut M&Ms.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much, everyone. This has been really fun.
It has.
If you're interested in getting into this work, I'm here on YouTube. Well, I guess you're on many platforms.
What's your YouTube?
Pretty much everywhere you can find me, it's at Intuitive Emotional Healing. So Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. I'm also on LinkedIn. It's all, on TikTok, it's missing, intuitive, emotional healing. Intuitive and emotional both have E's right next to each other. And that was like one character too long for TikTok. So I took one of the E's out. But it's still intuitive emotional healing. Yeah, right?
Very clever.
But intuitiveemotionalhealing.com has information about the Conscious Heart Academy, which I'm actually hopping off to go host a workshop within that here in 20 minutes.
Oh my God, I'm complaining, and here you are going on to your next thing. How long is that workshop?
It's a 90-minute workshop, but it's
Jesus Christ.
So
you're doing a 5-hour day here.
Yeah, which is great. You were saying earlier that it's clear that this just comes through. I don't plan anything. I show up to workshops and we talk about whatever comes through. At least in this one, I only have one that I do a formal PowerPoint for. So it's not a big deal. But if you want to learn more about the Conscious Heart Academy or one-on-one sessions or anything, intuitiveemotionalhealing.com is where you want to go. This has been so fun. And this is only the second podcast I've ever been on. And so this was really fun. I really enjoyed it.
That's right.
Yep.
And this one was way better than the other one you did.
This one was way longer and
way better. No, I don't care about the host was really awesome at this one. All right. You have a good one, man. Give everybody a big wave. I appreciate it. You did fabulous. We'll talk soon. Stay in there. Keep away from the green M&Ms. Okay. Just stay away. I've got cameras in there, so I'm watching. Yeah. All right. That was pretty good click. Sometimes I miss that timing, and it's a bummer because I'm all about perfection, as you all know. I'm all about perfection. If the show isn't like on the moment, I can't handle it. It has to be perfect. Every word is scripted. Every moment is analyzed before done, and then cut into the flow of the show. So that's how I am. So I seriously, all kidding aside, guys. I mean, seriously, Claire is the most amazing. And no, there's nobody that can't hear this. You're the most amazing person I've ever met in my life. Barbara and Ronaldo, same. But this is a stranger to have that feeling for. So I really appreciate everything that you did. And it's people like you, Claire, that I talk about. And this is another level. And producer Barbie and I have talked about this a lot. We're on a precipice. We're about ready to go, or that tipping point where all of a sudden the follows, the thing, the time, it all works for itself, and then the tipping point, and you go, and it just blows up. And the only reason we can do that is because here at Insights and Straight Talk, I'm your host, and then there's producer Barbie that does all the important stuff. But without you, seriously, Claire, none of this could ever happen, because my mind half the time, I'm out.
Before you leave, if you'd like to watch another one of the podcasts, click the first link in the description. We love having you here and we appreciate all your support.
And with that, producer Barbie and I are out.